Chapter 589. Don't call me miss. I'm an intern like you. Gu Yuechen had always been straightforward. Xiao Yu was so scared that she shivered and nodded quickly. After a while, she said hesitantly, "Miss, what should I call you?" "Whatever you want." Seeing that she was at a loss, Gu Yuechen was a little impatient. "Ah Chen is fine. You're already calling me that. How old are you? Why are you as bold as a mouse?" Xiao Yu whispered, 24. "You look like 14. Gu Yuechen pursed her lips and didn't say anything else. She pointed to the information and said, "Zhaofen wants me to talk to this photographer this afternoon, right?" Xiao Yu nodded quickly. Photographer Luo had already negotiated with the company to sign a contract, but he suddenly backed out 2 days ago, so this is actually quite tricky. Speaking of this, her tone was a little hesitant. In fact, from her expression, Gu Yuechen could tell that this was not a simple matter. How could Zhaofen give her something simple to do? She couldn't wait to sit in the office every day and watch her embarrass herself. It was a thankless task. This is difficult, isn't it? Hearing this, Xiao Yu was slightly stunned and nodded hesitantly. "Okay, I got it. I'll do it in a while." Gu Yuechen closed the information and glanced at Xiao Yu, who was still standing in front of her. "Is there anything else?" "No, there's nothing else." Xiao Yu shook her head and hurried back to her seat. According to the information, the photographer named Luo Qing was a young photographer who had won the International Photography Art Prize for 3 years in a row. It was said that the 4 major magazines in the world were fighting for him. With so many choices, he was confident that he could reject the olive branch extended by Fengshang. Gu Yuechen only read a part of the information and then left the company with her small backpack. Fengshang set up its headquarters in Los Angeles 10 years ago. Now, it was located in the city center with many tall buildings, so it was convenient to go anywhere. Gu Yuechen's car was parked in the garage. The red Lamborghini was dazzling and eye-catching. According to the information, Luo Qing usually worked out in a small members-only gym in the city center at this time in the afternoon. Because of the membership system, Gu Yuechen was directly blocked outside the door by the security guards. She had always had private training and had never been to a gym before. Seeing this, she took out a card and waved it in front of the security guard. "Isn't it just a membership? How much can it cost? Just give me the bill." "I'm sorry." The security guard still had a serious expression on his face. "This is a private club gym. Are you from the International Photography Association? You have to be a member of the Photography Association before you can apply for a membership card here." "Who's so perverted? Didn't you open a gym to make money?" Gu Yuechen's face darkened. "Call your manager out." "I'm sorry, the manager is busy recently. He's not here." "Where's the foreman? Where's the person in charge? Call anyone over." "I'm sorry." "Other than sorry, can you say something else?" Gu Yuechen stomped her feet in anger. She was about to argue with them with her hands on her hips when she suddenly caught a glimpse of a familiar figure from the corner of her eye. Her expression froze. After confirming who it was, she instantly disappeared in front of the security guards and looked out through the gaps between the leaves of a huge banana plant at the entrance of the gym. The tall figure who had just gotten out of the car was Lu Nanzhou, her ex-boyfriend who had just broken up with her. Who else could it be? The point was that there was a woman beside Lu Nanzhou. She looked very innocent and lovely, about 18 or 19 years old, with a ponytail, and followed Lu Nanzhou with a smile on her face. Lu Nanzhou threw the car keys to the waiter and went straight into the gym. The security guard did not stop him. Looking at the two of them chatting happily as they walked in side by side, Gu Yuechen felt as if his heart had been bitten by something. He felt very uncomfortable and involuntarily walked out from behind the plants to follow them. "Hey, miss, you can't go in." As soon as she finished speaking, a magnetic voice interrupted. "Let her in. She's my friend." Gu Yuechen was slightly stunned and looked up at the person. He was 1.85 meters tall and was wearing black casual clothes. At that moment, he took off his sunglasses, revealing a pair of long and narrow almond-shaped eyes. He sized her up with a mischievous smile in his eyes, as if he had known Gu Yuechen for a long time. Gu Yuechen frowned and did not say anything. After she followed the man into the gym, she called out to him and asked, "Thank you for just now. Also, do you know me?" The man's lips curved. "Why do you think I should know you?" Gu Yuechen pursed her lips. "Oh, nothing. I was just asking." She was just guessing. Maybe this person had seen her at some cocktail party and knew her identity, so he helped her. Now it seemed that was not the case. The male and female changing rooms in the gym were in two different directions. The man pointed in the opposite direction and left the hall. After watching the man leave, Gu Yuechen did not go to the changing room as he said. Instead, she put on the clothes she was wearing and walked in the direction Lu Nanzhou had just gone. There were very few people in the swimming pool on the second floor. There was a row of deck chairs beside the pool. Gu Yuechen looked around and saw Lu Nanzhou and the young girl from before. They were opposite the pool. One of them was sitting on a deck chair and the other was standing. They seemed to be joking. After saying a few words, Lu Nanzhou shook his legs and then jumped into the water with a splash. The young girl sat on the edge of the pool, splashing her feet in the water. Her gaze followed Lu Nanzhou the entire time. Looking at how familiar they were, it did not seem like they had just met. Before this, Lu Nanzhou had clearly told her that he was surrounded by men and had never had a woman. Sure enough, a man's words were never true. At this thought, Gu Yuechen rushed over aggressively. Ling Chunwan was so righteous at the wedding, but in the end, he turned around and found someone else. Instead, he pushed all the blame onto her. "Lu Nanzhou, you're really something. Hey, get up." Gu Yuechen stood by the pool and looked at the young girl condescendingly. The young girl was stunned. She looked up with a startled expression and sized up Gu Yuechen in front of her. "You are." Gu Yuechen's outfit was really inconsistent with the people in the swimming pool. After Lu Nanzhou swam to the opposite side, he grabbed the railing and turned around. He wiped the water off his face and saw her figure. At first, he was stunned, but soon, he revealed a happy expression. After not contacting her for so many days, he had long regretted impulsively breaking up with her. He originally wanted to go to the Four Seasons villa to apologize to her, but he did not expect that she would come to find him. Thinking of this, he climbed ashore and jogged along the pool. Gu Yuechen did not see Lu Nanzhou. She was busy figuring out whether it was her fault for breaking up with Lu Nanzhou. She would still blame him. If it was not her fault, she would rather die than take the blame. "When did you meet Lu Nanzhou?" The young girl blinked and became alert. "Your brother Nanzhou's." Chapter 590. Ex-girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. The girl heaved a sigh of relief and got up from the edge of the pool. She grabbed a towel and wiped her neck with a leisurely look on her face. "We've already broken up. Why do you care about others?" Gu Yuechen's face darkened. "I don't care about breaking up. I'm more curious about whether Lu Nanzhou's reason for breaking up with me is as dignified as he said it was. Breaking up just because she wasn't prepared to meet his parents? She felt that this reason was ridiculous. She was only 20 years old. Why did she have to talk about marriage so early? Then what if I told you that I've known Brother Nanzhou for a long time? How long? About 2 years ago. We met in Melbourne. It's only been 2 years. Do you think that these 2 years are very short? It can't compare to growing up with you, right? The girl sneered. But it's a pity that Brother Nanzhou and I met when we were just teenagers. Before that, we were just children playing house. In terms of time, I can't compare to you, but in terms of intimacy, you might not be able to compare to us. Gu Yuechen was trembling with anger. She gritted her teeth and said, "Intimacy? Yes, we're very open. Don't tell me you're also. Ha ha ha." Westerners were very open. Gu Yuechen knew this very well. Unfortunately, she grew up in Lonjiang and hadn't been exposed to this kind of atmosphere in the West. The girl's words made her heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys tremble. She couldn't control her temper and blurted out 3 words. "Shameless." At this moment, Lu Nanzhou had just run over. When he heard these 3 words, he was confused. What do you mean shameless? Damn, he directly bumped into Gu Yuechen's gun muzzle. Almost without thinking, Gu Yuechen raised her leg to kick Lu Nanzhou. The girl cried out in alarm and reflexively reached out to grab Lu Nanzhou. However, she lost her balance and fell into the water. The 2 of them fell into the water together. Their posture was as ambiguous as it could be. The girl didn't know how to swim, so after struggling for a long time, she was finally pulled into Lu Nanzhou's arms and brought to shore. She spat out a few mouthfuls of water and looked at Lu Nanzhou with tears in her eyes. Gu Yuechen, are you crazy? Lu Nanzhou raised his head and glared at her, displeasure written all over his face. It's fine if you mess around at home, but Vivian can't swim. Are you going to take responsibility if something happens to her? Is she blaming me for falling into the water? Gu Yuechen stared at Lu Nanzhou in disbelief. Can you get this straight? She fell down by herself? If you didn't make trouble for no reason, would she have fallen down? Chen, can you reflect on yourself? Since young, you've always blamed other people for causing trouble. Don't you feel that you're not at fault at all? F***CK. Lu Nanzhou, you're my uncle. Gu Yuechen clenched her fists. Her face was livid with anger. Fine, it's my fault. In your eyes, I'm such an unreasonable person. Let's not meet again in the future. She finally understood. Before dating, everything was good, but after dating, everything was bad. It was a stretch to say that distance made the heart grow fonder. It was simply an excuse for men to like the new and dislike the old. After Gu Yuechen angrily ran out of the gym, the hot sun evaporated the water on her body. After walking along the road for 5 minutes, she suddenly remembered why she went to the gym. She slapped her forehead and hurriedly turned around. Enemies often cross paths. As soon as she entered the gym hall, she saw the adulterous couple. After calming down, Lu Nanzhou regretted speaking so rashly. That was why he packed up his things and was about to chase after her. He didn't expect to see her in the hall. He was delighted. Chen, just now. Do I know you? Gu Yuechen rolled her eyes at him and walked straight into the swimming pool. She only left behind a lukewarm sentence. I'm here to look for someone. Help yourself. Lu Nanzhou was stunned. He heard a faint voice beside him. He turned around and saw Vivian with her arms crossed. She was looking in the direction Gu Yuechen disappeared in with interest. He clicked his tongue and sighed. Brother Nanzhou, this little girlfriend of yours has an unusually bad temper. Aren't you going to chase after her and explain? After all, I was just teasing her. Don't cause any trouble because of me. Lu Nanzhou sighed helplessly. She's been like this since she was young. She has a bad temper, but she doesn't do anything overnight. Forget it, I'll send you back to the hotel first. I'll explain to her tomorrow. There was no one in the swimming pool, only the sound of splashing water could be heard. Gu Yuechen followed the figure in the middle of the pool step by step towards the finish line. According to the information, Luo Qing usually stayed in the swimming pool for the whole morning. If the person she was looking for was not here, then there was no need to look for the gym. The man swam to the finish line. He held the edge of the pool with one hand and wiped the water off his face with the other. He then pushed his goggles up to his swimming cap. When he opened his eyes, he saw a girl squatting on the platform beside the pool. She was looking at him with her chin propped up. It's you. The girl's voice echoed in the empty swimming pool. The man in front of her was the one who had just brought her in at the entrance of the gym. Why are you still here? The man sniffed, jumped out of the pool, and walked towards his seat. I want to ask you about someone. Gu Yuechen jumped down from the springboard and caught up to him as she asked. Do you know Luo Qing? He's a very famous photographer, but I don't have any photos of him. Is he here today? The man laughed in his heart, but his expression did not change. Why are you looking for him? I want to introduce him to a good job. Oh. He's a special photographer for Fengshan. He takes photos for many big brands. The man wiped his arms and looked indifferent. As far as I know, Luo Qing likes to take photos of scenery, so those luxury brands don't seem to be suitable for him. That's good. Gu Yuechen's eyes lit up. Is he interested in Fengshang in China? Fengshang plans to run a humanities and geography column in China, specializing in the scenery of China. China is a big place, and there are many beautiful places in China. You've been there. I grew up there. Gu Yuechen said without hesitation. I saw that photographer Luo Qing only takes photos of Western scenery. I learned that he is a Chinese American, but he has never been to China. I think he should be interested. Is that so? The man pondered for a few seconds. But Luo Qing has already left. She was just by the pool. Didn't you see? By the side. Gu Yuechen was stunned. Her mind quickly went through all the people on the shore just now, but she could not find the figure in her impression. I thought you knew each other, but it seems that you two had a little argument. The man's smile was thought-provoking. Gu Yuechen's mouth twitched. An ominous premonition was spreading in her heart. Sure enough, the man's next sentence was, I also saw you push her into the water and fall into the water with the man beside her. Gu Yuechen's smile froze at the corner of her mouth. Luo Qing was a woman? Or was it the woman just now? Chapter 591. Seeing the young girl's expression change in an instant, the man suddenly laughed out loud. Why are you so scared? Is it necessary? As for, she had just boasted to Zhao Fan that she would make a name for herself in Fengshang and impress her mother. She had poked a big hole in the ground. Originally, Luo Qing just didn't want to sign a contract with Fengshang. Now, she had pushed her into the water. If they met again, she would be furious. Sign a contract? What's more, this woman and Lu Nanzhou had an ambiguous relationship. She was annoyed whenever she saw her. She didn't want to see her in Fengshang every day. I'm quite familiar with Luo Qing. Do you want me to help you? The man seemed to be unable to stand it and took the initiative to ask for help. Gu Yuechen came back to her senses and quickly waved her hand. No, thank you. I'll leave first. Compared to the impact of messing up this matter, she felt that it was better not to face Luo Qing every day. His ex-girlfriend and current girlfriend worked in the same place, and this Luo Qing was a freelance photographer. Her position was much higher than hers. She didn't want to be like this. Zhao Fan was enough for her. After all, she was just a small intern. Who asked Zhao Fan to give this matter to her? When she went back, she would say that she didn't see Luo Qing at all. After leaving the gym, she quickly put the matter of not being able to persuade Luo Qing to the back of her mind. She found a cafe to have dinner and then returned to the apartment happily. In order to let her work in peace, her mother didn't even let her go back to the Four Seasons villa. She directly arranged a single apartment for her in the city center for the time being. It seemed that she had been kicked out of the house. As soon as she arrived at the door of the apartment, she saw a figure who seemed to have been waiting for her for a long time. Why are you here? Gu Yuechen looked unhappy. Lu Nanzhou twitched the corner of his mouth. Chen, what happened this afternoon was a misunderstanding. Vivian was just teasing you. I have nothing to do with her. I'm just good friends with her brother. Oh. Gu Yuechen glanced at him, walked around him, and hurried to open the door. Hurry up and leave if you're done. She had made up her mind to ignore Lu Nanzhou. Regardless of whether or not he could reveal the details of what had happened in the afternoon, it was already unforgivable that he dared to give her a hard time in front of outsiders. Are you still angry? What's there to be angry about? Don't you think it's all my fault? Gu Yuechen blocked him outside the door. My house is too small for you. Chen, I was wrong this afternoon. I apologize. Bang. Before Lu Nanzhou could finish his words, he was met with a rebuff. The door was mercilessly slammed shut. After closing the door, Gu Yuechen muttered, Just an apology and it's over? You don't have any sincerity at all. Do you think I'm easy to fool? After taking a shower and changing into her pajamas, she lay on the sofa with her snacks in her arms and watched TV. During this time, Ling Dongqing made an overseas call and mentioned what had happened in China. My brother suddenly told us that he's going to get married. The family is in chaos now. Do you know who the other party is? Who cares? Gu Yuechen tossed a plum into her mouth with a nonchalant expression. Your brother is probably acting on a whim again. A person like him can meet his true love once every 3 minutes. Which time didn't your parents beat him up? I think he's serious this time. He's been nagging for a long time. Ever since he came back from Nuanyuan's wedding, he's been looking for the household register at home. My mother is afraid that he's acting on a whim and has long hidden the household register. I don't usually see him looking for it. Yesterday, he tearfully promised the whole family that he's serious this time and is going to get married. Who is it? A fairy from heaven? Can Ling Yufeng restrain himself? Speaking of this, Ling Dongqing laughed. Duan Ruyun. Do you remember her? Duan Ruyun. Gu Yuechen jumped up from the sofa. The woman that Zhuang Hong wanted to marry before? The one who runs the nightclub? I remember that she's 5 or 6 years older than Ling Yufeng. Isn't she the same age as Zhuang Hong? She's not just 5 or 6 years older. Everything has its vanquisher. This sister has a high status. I heard that most of the people in the capital are her ex-boyfriends. Back then, Zhuang Hong got engaged to her because of the big hole in the Zhuangyu group, who asked her to be rich. In the end, she was robbed by my brother and sister at the wedding. From then on, she subdued my brother within a month of knowing him. This was also the reason why Ling Yufeng's parents didn't agree to this marriage. After all, Duan Ruyun ran the nightclub and took over the family business at the age of 16. Her scheming and shrewdness were not something that a little playboy like Ling Yufeng could compare to. But I heard that your mother has a relationship with Duan Ruyun's mother. She's not her biological mother. Duan Ruyun was 12 years old when she was adopted by Auntie Sue. Auntie Sue didn't have any children, so she handed the nightclub over to her. She's very hard-working. Think about what we were doing when we were 16 years old. I heard that there were 2 years when the nightclub's business was not good, and she came out to solicit customers herself. Don't talk nonsense. Gu Yuechen frowned and interrupted Ling Dongqing. Where did you hear this? Don't gossip and ruin her reputation. Chen, I don't mean to say this, but her reputation is really bad. If it's really bad, Zhuang Hong wouldn't have gotten engaged to her, right? Why did he have to marry someone with a bad family background? I heard that it was also entrusted by his parents. Auntie Zhuang was actually not very happy at that time. You didn't go to the engagement party, but I did. When Auntie Zhuang heard that Zhuang Hong ran away from the wedding, she smiled. Sigh, she was obviously really not satisfied with Duan Ruyun. No matter what, she can't compare to Nuanyuan, right? Of course. When it came to Ling Chunwan, Gu Yuechen echoed a few words. In terms of family background, character, and temper, who can compare to Nuanyuan? Zhuang Hong must have accumulated several lifetimes of good fortune. Then what did your parents say? Let's meet first. After all, it's been so many years. Although I have an impression of her, I haven't seen her many times. Do you want to come back? I have a hunch that my brother is going to get married soon. No, I'm busy. What are you busy with? Didn't Auntie Yu arrange for you to go to Fengshang? Why don't you tell Uncle Gu and ask him to let you go to the domestic branch? Forget it, it's good enough that I can get through these 2 days safely. Huh? What's wrong? Nothing. Gu Yuechen was too lazy to explain to him. She yawned and said, Let's talk about this later. I'm sleepy, and I have to go to work tomorrow. I'm hanging up. After hanging up the phone, Gu Yuechen took out the potato chips from the bag. She only felt that they were tasteless. After chewing a few times, she threw the rest back and raised her hand to turn off the TV. When she returned to her room, she subconsciously walked to the door and took a look through the peephole. Lu Nanzhou was still at the door. He was squatting in the corridor outside, looking like a doormat. What stubborn temper. Gu Yuechen frowned and forcibly resisted the urge to open the door. She gritted her teeth and went back to her room to sleep. Chapter 592. Gu Yuechen couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. She tossed and turned until the wee hours of the morning. Seeing that the sky was a little bright, she got up from the bed with a grunt and ran barefoot to the porch. She looked outside through the peephole. Lu Nanzhou wasn't there. She frowned and hesitantly opened the security door. As soon as the door opened, she heard a muffled groan, followed by a huge body sliding in front of her. Gu Yuechen's expression stiffened. She stared at the person at her feet in surprise. When she came back to her senses, she raised her voice and shouted, "Lu Nanzhou, are you crazy? You've been lying in front of my door all night? Is this person crazy?" The air conditioning in the corridor was so strong. How could he sleep? She shouted, but found that there was no response. Lu Nanzhou was lying at her feet like he was about to die. His face was strangely flushed. Gu Yuechen was slightly stunned. She tested the temperature of his forehead. It was as hot as a stove. She immediately frowned. "Lu Nanzhou, you're doing this on purpose, aren't you?" Gu Yuechen dragged him by the shoulders and dragged him into the house. She complained as she panted. "You just don't want me to have an easy time. You're using the trick of injuring yourself to gain my confidence. Let me tell you, I've been studying the art of war since I was young. Your little trick can't fool me. If you have the ability, go find that girl from this afternoon. Damn you." After talking to herself for a long time, Gu Yuechen felt that she must be crazy. Who had she served since she was young? Even her parents didn't receive this kind of treatment. Did she really owe Lu Nanzhou in her previous life? Ever since he was young, he had been a bully. However, when he was 12 years old, he had caused the kidnapping of Lu Nanzhou and Ling Chunwan. After that, he had always been brooding over it. He felt that he owed the two of them, so he rarely showed his rude and unreasonable temper to them. Now, the two of them were throwing tantrums at him one by one. Thinking of this, she wrung out the towel and put it on his head, sighing. By the time she was done, the sky was already bright. Gu Yuechen didn't have time to wait for Lu Nanzhou to wake up. She hurriedly went to work. Yesterday's matter hadn't been settled, and it seemed that she couldn't interact with Luo Qing anymore. Otherwise, it would be strange if he cooperated with Feng Shang. As soon as she arrived at the office, Gu Yuechen noticed that the people around her were looking at her strangely. Before she could even sit down, she was called to Zhao Fan's office by her assistant. As soon as she entered the office, Gu Yuechen felt that Zhao Fan was looking at her meaningfully. "Why are you looking for me?" She frowned, feeling a little guilty. Zhao Fan looked at her and said, "I thought you were just boasting about finding Luo Qing. I didn't expect you to be so capable." "I underestimated you, Mississippi." Gu Yuechen avoided her gaze and frowned. "What do you mean?" "Photographer Luo has agreed to sign a contract with us. He also volunteered to write a column on Chinese geography for the first 5 years." "How is that possible?" Gu Yuechen was shocked. "Is she crazy?" "What do you mean?" Zhao Fan glanced at her. "Photographer Luo specifically asked you to accompany him to do the photography for the first issue. I'm not surprised, but you're surprised first?" Gu Yuechen finally came back to her senses. She felt that something was wrong. What was going on? Was Luo Qing crazy? She wanted her to accompany him to do the photography? Could it be that he was waiting for an opportunity to take revenge? "Photographer Luo is coming to sign the contract later. You can come with me directly to the conference room. After signing the contract, you can follow photographer Luo and wait for his schedule." In the confusion, Gu Yuechen was brought to the meeting room by Zhao Fan. It was only when Luo Qing came in that she understood what was going on. "Mr. Luo, it's our honor to have you sign a contract with Feng Shang." Zhao Fan's voice echoed in her ears. Gu Yuechen stared at the person who came in, and her face became more and more ugly. Luo Qing, the man she met in the gym yesterday. It was not that woman at all. "What's the point of playing with me?" Gu Yuechen's face darkened the whole time. She didn't give Luo Qing a good look until Zhao Fan happily left the conference room with the contract. Assistant Gu, you seem to have a problem with me? Luo Qing looked at her with a faint smile. Gu Yuchen tidied up the documents in his hands and said in annoyance, "What can I do for you, big sister?" "Feel free to ask." "Sister." Luo Qing twitched the corner of his mouth. Gu Yuechen glanced at him impolitely. "I remember someone told me that Luo Qing is a woman." Luo Qing laughed out loud. "You're still laughing?" In the face of Gu Yuechen's annoyance, Luo Qing raised her eyebrows and approached her with interest. Then, she flicked her forehead without warning. "Ah!" Gu Yuechen covered her head and bounced away as if she had been electrocuted. She stared at Luo Qing angrily. "What are you doing?" Luo Qing's handsome face was full of smiles. "I think the trip after returning to China will be very interesting." Although Gu Yuechen was very reluctant, after weighing the pros and cons, she still felt that it was better to travel with Luo Qing, a weirdo, than to stay at the headquarters of Fengshang and be ordered around by Zhao Fan. So, she went straight back to the apartment to pack up and prepare for the business trip after work that afternoon. Luo Qing had to stay in China for 5 years, but she didn't need to. She would start school in a month, and then she wouldn't need to maintain her intern status anymore. She believed that her mother wouldn't say anything at that time. It would be enough as long as she could get through this month. When she returned to the apartment, she smelled the aroma of food in the corridor before she opened the door. After opening the door, there were 4 dishes and a soup on the table. The plate was exquisite and looked decent. "Why haven't you left yet?" Gu Yuechen looked at Lu Nanzhou and frowned. Lu Nanzhou attentively carried her bag, hung her coat, and handed her slippers. The whole process was very smooth. "I had a fever last night. It was hard for you to take care of me. Shouldn't I be grateful? That's why I cooked you a meal. Are you tired from work?" Gu Yuechen was indifferent. She walked into the living room in her slippers and glanced at the food on the table. "You cooked?" Lu Nanzhou took a deep breath. "I ordered takeout. It doesn't look as good as Nuanyuan's. As long as you like it, I can learn to cook in the future. Come on, it's talent." Gu Yuechen rolled her eyes at him. "You won't be able to learn it. Besides, it will take you 10 years to reach Nuanyuan's level. Why should I waste my time with you? Why don't we just go to Nuanyuan's house for dinner? Zhuang Hong definitely won't be happy. As long as Nuanyuan is happy." "You made up with her." At the mention of this, Gu Yuechen glanced at Lu Nanzhou and said unhappily, "You still have the nerve to ask this? Isn't it all because of you?" Lu Nanzhou's mouth twitched. "How can you blame me? If you didn't confess to me, Nuanyuan wouldn't have eavesdropped. If she didn't eavesdrop, she wouldn't have escaped from Mauritius. She wouldn't have met Zhuang Hong. She wouldn't have gotten married so carelessly. She wouldn't have caused me to lose a decent meal. How can you say I don't blame you? It's my fault, okay?" Lu Nanzhou scooped a bowl of soup and handed it to her. "It's my fault for liking you too much." Chapter 593. Lu Nanzhou's tone was full of affection and gentleness. Gu Yuechen was stunned and felt her heart tremble. She swallowed her saliva and muttered, "Can you not say such mushy things? It's so annoying." Hearing this, Lu Nanzhou looked at her with a smile. "You don't like it?" Lu Nanzhou was known to have a good temper, which was on the same level as Gu Yuechen's known to be spoiled. As the younger brother of the rock queen Lu Jingru, he had a large group of fans since he was 7 years old and had been followed by his sister on the show. Therefore, he had always been the center of attention since he was a child. Being the center of attention inevitably brought about many inconveniences, such as being followed by paparazzi and being stalked by Seising fans. He had experienced it all before. And Lu Nanzhou's Seising fans were known as the happiest fans in the world. He once rented an apartment across from his house for 2 girls who had been waiting in front of his house for a week. It was convenient for them to see him every day when they went out. The only requirement was that they could not take photos. After living there for a month, the girl finally felt guilty and was removed from Lu Nanzhou's Sacing fans. She had become the #1 rational fan to crack down on Sacing fans. Gu Yuechen's impression of this kind of temper was that of a sissy for the first 20 years. She couldn't be blamed for this. Lu Nanzhou's body had been weak since he was a child. Before the age of 15, he spoke weakly. He was as thin as a pen and could be blown away by a gust of wind. Therefore, when she heard that Ling Chunwan had a crush on him, she didn't hesitate to ridicule her for an entire afternoon. She also rudely said that if she ever met a gangster like Lu Nanzhou in the future, she would be the first to be scared out of her wits, let alone save her. But who would have thought that the originally thin boy would grow crazily after the age of 15? In just 2 years, he was a head taller than the young lady who had ridiculed him before. He had also cultivated a strong physique. His originally frail temperament had completely transformed into the gentleness in his bones, which made people look at him in a new light. Gu Yuechen, on the other hand, found it difficult to change her opinion of Lu Nanzhou for the time being. If it weren't for the night when Gu Yao and Lu Jingru got married in Mauritius, she was afraid that she would never change her opinion of Lu Nanzhou in this lifetime. That night when Ling Chunwan and Zhuang Hong escaped from the island, Gu Yuechen did not know what happened. The elders also looked like nothing had happened. She looked for Ling Chunwan all over the island, but unfortunately, she had a conflict with the people sent by Zhuang Yu to find Zhuang Hong. Gu Yuechen's skills were not bad, but it just so happened that there were a few days every month when her skills were very inflexible. If Lu Nanzhou had not arrived in time, she would have been at a disadvantage. At that time, for the first time, she found that the young man who had followed her as a dog-head strategist since childhood had grown up so well. He was not her underling, he was not a slug that needed to be protected, and he was not someone who would listen to her and follow Ling Chunwan just because she said that she could give him to her cousin. He was a strong and powerful man with his own independent soul. Even if Lu Nanzhou was very gentle at this moment, she still could not ignore the fact that he was already a man. A man who could not be completely controlled by her. Focus on eating. Why are you looking at me? Lu Nanzhou looked at her with a puzzled expression. Gu Yuechen coughed dryly, buried her head in the food, and said while eating, "If you want to live here, you can live here. Anyway, I'm leaving tomorrow." "Where are you going?" "Don't worry about that. It has nothing to do with you anyway." Lu Nanzhou looked at her and was not in a hurry to ask. Early the next morning, at the airport, Gu Yuechen pulled a small lightweight suitcase and met Luo Qing. Luo Qing was wearing a simple white t-shirt and black pants, with a pair of anti-radiation glasses on the bridge of his nose. When Gu Yuechen arrived, he was editing the travel plan with a pen in his notebook. His handsome facial features and slender perfect figure attracted many people to look back. "Let's go and change our boarding pass." "Wait a minute." Luo Qing closed the notebook and raised his wrist to look at it. "There are still people who haven't arrived." "Who else?" Gu Yuechen frowned. "Aren't you going to collect materials? Don't tell me you're going to bring a bunch of assistants?" "Yes." Luo Qing smiled meaningfully. "Can you help me carry a tripod or shoot a light? If I don't bring a few more assistants, I'm afraid I won't be able to take a good photo until next year." "You're being unreasonable." Gu Yuechen curled her lips. "There are so many excellent photographers, but I've never seen anyone more arrogant than you." While speaking, Luo Qing waved his hand in the distance. Following his gaze, Gu Yuechen's confusion gradually turned into shock and disbelief. The man and woman walking into the airport hall were Lu Nanzhou and Vivian. Who else could it be? "Brother." Vivian ran towards Luo Qing while waving. After throwing herself into Luo Qing's arms, she took off her sunglasses and looked up at Gu Yuechen with a smile. "We meet again, Miss Gu." Gu Yuechen was too lazy to talk to her. She stared directly at Lu Nanzhou, who was carrying the luggage behind Vivian, and said, "What's going on? You'd better give me an explanation." "These are my 2 assistants." Luo Qing's voice came from behind. Gu Yuechen turned around and looked at Luo Qing in confusion. "Let me introduce her to you. This is my younger sister, Luo Wei. You can call her Vivian." "Your younger sister?" Gu Yuechen looked at Vivian in surprise. This insidious and cunning woman who pretended to be weak was Luo Qing's younger sister. They were really from the same family and were equally cunning. What about you? Who asked you to follow me? Gu Yuechen glanced at Lu Nanzhou. Before Lu Nanzhou could speak, Vivian had already taken his arm and said provocatively, Miss Gu, if I remember correctly, the last time we met, you told me that you and brother Nanzhou had broken up, right? Gu Yuechen's expression froze. You can't have forgotten so quickly, right? Who forgot? We broke up. What does it have to do with you? Since you have broken up, what right do you have to yell at Nanzhou? Brother Nanzhou is my friend. He is very interested in my brother's photography trip, so I plan to bring him along. Is there a problem? Assistant Gu. The words, Assistant Gu, made Gu Yuechen's anger rise. In the end, it was Luo Qing who came out to smooth things over. Since you all know each other, you will have a companion on the trip to avoid boredom, right? Gu Yuechen's gaze fell on Lu Nanzhou's arm that Vivian was holding. She gritted her teeth and said, Yes, to avoid boredom. Now it's really interesting. From Los Angeles to China, they transferred directly to Gansu. After arriving at the hotel in Dunhuang, Gansu, everyone packed their luggage and prepared to go to the Mingsha Desert the next day. Gu Yuechen couldn't be bothered to talk to Lu Nanzhou the whole time, and Lu Nanzhou was entangled by Vivian and didn't have time to talk to her at all. The night before departure, Gu Yuechen was packing her things for the next day in her room when the doorbell rang. After opening the door, she saw Lu Nanzhou standing at the door with a paper bag in his hand. Chapter 594. It's too windy in the desert. This is a veil. Remember to wear it tomorrow. Gu Yuechen was stunned. Even though she had been sulking for a long time, she still felt a surge of warmth in her heart. She reached out to take it and thanked him in a low voice. Thank you. Don't mention it. Do you want to go in? Before Gu Yuechen could finish her words, a rapid ringtone sounded between the two of them, interrupting her. Lu Nanzhou took out his phone, looked at Gu Yuechen apologetically, and then pressed the answer button. Vivian's voice came from the other end of the line. He didn't know what she said, but Gu Yuechen only heard two words. Come to my room. After hanging up the phone, Lu Nanzhou glanced at Gu Yuechen. Vivian said that there's something wrong with her room. She wants me to go over and help take a look. Hearing this, Gu Yuechen was furious. She said unhappily, Then go. What are you standing here for? Do you want me to go with you? Before Lu Nanzhou could explain, a gust of wind blew. Gu Yuechen had already slammed the door shut, along with the veil bag he brought. Vivian called Lu Nanzhou at this time purely on purpose. She saw Lu Nanzhou pass by her door through the peephole, heading in the direction of Gu Yuechen's room. That was why she came up with this bad idea. After being rejected by Gu Yuechen, Lu Nanzhou hesitated in front of her door for a long time. He sighed, lowered his head, and knocked on the door to ask her what happened. Vivian blocked the door and didn't let him in. It's fine now. I was a little worried when I couldn't close the window. Sleep early, Nanzhou. Lu Nanzhou didn't think much of it and obediently went back to his room to rest. After closing the door, a laugh came from the sofa. If you really like Lu Nanzhou, why do you have to tease him? I don't have the hobby of stealing someone's love. Although Nanzhou is pretty good, it's not to the extent that I would put down my face and chase after him. Aren't I just helping you? After saying that, Vivian glanced at Luo Qing and said, You said you could have taken a fancy to anyone, but why did you have to take a fancy to that young lady? I've asked around, and she's famous for her bad temper. I just think she's interesting. You're thinking too much. Vivian sneered. Brother, you're already an adult. Why are you still so hesitant when you like someone? It's not cool at all. When it comes to love, both parties have to love each other. You can't break them up. It's my business whether or not we can break up. You just have to think of a way to woo Gu Yuechen. Don't worry about anything else. Luo Qing smiled as a trace of helplessness flashed in his eyes. Don't mess around. Rest early. We have to travel tomorrow. This place is not a vacation spot. Tomorrow? I'm not going tomorrow. Up to you. The next day, the shooting location was set at Mingsha Spring. They had to set off with the camel team early in the morning. When she heard that Vivian was not going with them, Gu Yuechen's ashen face obviously looked better. Mingsha Spring was in the center of the desert. It would take 3 hours to follow the camel team, but there were also desert motorcycles. Luo Qing insisted on following the camel team because he wanted to take pictures of the scenery along the way. The desert was vast and boundless. Originally, they couldn't see the end of it. The more they walked, the more uncertain they felt. Gu Yuechen had never experienced hardships in her travels since she was young. This time, she was already a little uncomfortable following them to Gansu. She had been forcing herself to endure. The scorching sun hung high in the sky along the way, and the wind and sand almost made her breathless. But after seeing Mingsha Spring, the heartfelt joy suddenly made her feel enlightened. For a moment, she forgot that she had just squabbled with Lu Nanzhou the night before. She turned around and shouted, "Nanzhou, look, we're here." Lu Nanzhou also nodded with a face full of joy. "It's so beautiful." They were going to stay at Mingsha Spring for 2 days, or even longer, until Luo Qing finished taking pictures of the scenery here. After putting down their luggage, the 3 of them went to the spring. Gu Yuechen was responsible for holding the lightboard and adjusting the position of the camera according to Luo Qing's request. Lu Nanzhou was responsible for holding the tripod and helping to adjust the position of the camera. The sun was scorching in the afternoon. There were only a few trees by the spring, and only a few leaves grew on them. When the wind blew, they swayed as if they would fall at any second. After the initial few minutes of excitement when they saw the oasis, this place still looked excessively desolate. Gu Yuechen didn't like this place very much. She liked everything that was full of vitality, and it was difficult for her to feel the beauty of the barren land. Luo Qing was obviously the opposite of her. After holding the DSLR, he was like a different person. He was focused as if there was no moment of distraction. "Move the lightboard a little to the left. I want to take pictures of that tree." At night, smoke rose from the desert, and the sun set over the long river. Gu Yuechen was lying in the tent she was staying in with a sore back. Through the tent's window, she could see the sky full of stars. "Chen." A familiar voice came from outside the tent. Gu Yuechen was too lazy to move. She answered while lying down, "What? I'm exhausted. Don't call me. You ate very little for dinner." Lu Nanzhou's voice was separated by a layer of the tent, but it was still very clear. "It's too dry. I'm not used to it." "Then what do you want to eat?" Gu Yuechen pondered for a few seconds and said weakly, "I want to drink a cup of chocolate and eat a piece of red velvet cake. If you can give me a strawberry, then I really can't ask for anything else." The more she spoke, the hungrier she became. If she had known that she would end up in this situation half a month ago, she definitely wouldn't have wasted any food. A rustling sound came from outside the tent. She opened her eyes and looked at the entrance of the tent with great effort. She saw a hand reaching in. "What are you doing?" Before she could finish speaking, her voice was drowned by the rich smell of chocolate. She got up with a grunt and snatched the thermos flask from Lu Nanzhou's hand. "Where did the chocolate come from?" A gasp came from outside the tent. "You pinched me. Are you okay?" Gu Yuechen hurriedly opened the tent, but she bumped into a pair of sparkling eyes in front of the starry sky. They were filled with gentleness as they looked at her with a smile. In his hand was a red velvet cake. The corners were crushed, and it didn't look very beautiful. The portable fridge can't store too many things, so there's only one red velvet cake. It's a little crushed, so you can eat it. At that moment, Gu Yuechen felt as if there was a clear spring water flowing through her heart. Her whole body was refreshed, and she was no longer as irritated as she was during the day. "Thank you." She smiled sincerely. This was the first time she really showed a good expression to Lu Nanzhou since they broke up. "Where's the chocolate? How did you get it?" I prepared it before I came. The thermos flask is quite good at keeping the chocolate warm. It should still be warm. Lu Nanzhou handed the cake into her tent and rubbed his hands. It seemed a little cold. Hurry up and eat. It's cold outside. Rest early after eating. The temperature difference between day and night was huge. Lu Nanzhou was wearing a light yellow jacket and squatting outside. He exhaled a breath of cold air when he spoke. He was shivering from the cold, but he was still thinking about Gu Yuechen. Drink a little. Gu Yuechen handed over the thermos flask in her hand. Chapter 595. Lu Nanzhou pretended to refuse, but Gu Yuechen forcefully dragged him away. I'm afraid it's hot. Try a sip. How could it be hot? It's been a day. Didn't you say that the thermos flask has good properties? Lu Nanzhou couldn't persuade her, so he could only let her take a sip. Fortunately, it's not too hot. Drink it. Drink some more. I can't taste it at all. After being persuaded to drink a few mouthfuls, Lu Nanzhou came back to his senses. Chen, are you deliberately making me drink it? Who told you to drink it? Gu Yuechen snatched the thermos flask. Don't be so emotional. I'm just afraid it'll be hot. Although she said that, her red face couldn't lie. Lu Nanzhou's heart warmed. In a moment of passion, he leaned forward and planted a kiss on her cheek. Gu Yuechen couldn't dodge in time. By the time she reacted, she raised her head abruptly, only to bump into his kiss on her lips. In that instant, it was as if the sky was pouring down on him. The beautiful night surrounded the two of them. The eldest miss, who had always been domineering, couldn't help but forget to resist. The deep kiss lasted for a long time. After a long time, the two of them were a little unsteady. Chen, let's make up. Gu Yuechen drank the chocolate in silence. Her heart was very complicated. According to her character of cutting the Gordian knot, since she had already broken up, she would not drag things out. However, she was entangled with Lu Nanzhou like a dead knot. He was the one who broke up, and he was the one who suggested getting back together. No matter what, it made her feel uncomfortable. In the end, this topic was left unsettled. Lu Nanzhou was afraid that pushing her too far would backfire, so he didn't continue to ask. He wanted to wait until they were out of the desert. In fact, he had been regretting it ever since he lost control and broke up with Gu Yuechen at Ling Chunwan's wedding half a month ago. Why did people always want more? Before he got together with her, his biggest wish was for her to like him, accept him, and officially fall in love with him. After they got together, what he wanted was for her to go see his parents with him. It was not the kind of meeting the elders in the past, but the kind of meeting the future parents-in-law. He hoped that he could be with her for the rest of his life, get married, have children of their own, and have a future. However, Gu Yuechen was used to doing things her own way. She liked a lot of things. She cared about friendship and family as much as love. It could even be said that they were more important than love. In the face of his confession, Gu Yuechen's first reaction was to reject him. She even persuaded him to be with Ling Chunwan. Then, she didn't even consider the matter of meeting his parents. After they broke up, he stayed at home for a long time and refused to go anywhere. Lu Jingru went back to her mother's house to see him once. They talked openly about her views on their relationship. She didn't hesitate to say that she didn't think highly of it. Chen is very strong. Your personality isn't suitable for her. She's like this. If she finds someone who is much older and has a certain amount of life experience, it will be much better. It's best if she admires you a little. Can you do that? At first, he didn't listen to Lu Jingrou's words. Later, he heard Gu Yao say that Gu Yuechen's mother arranged for her to work in the company for an internship. She was going to introduce her to a few men that her mother admired. She wanted to see her reaction. The first one was Luo Qing. Luo Qing was 30 years old this year. All the conditions were in line with what Lu Jingru had said at the beginning. It seemed that what she said was true. No one was optimistic about their relationship. including Gu Yuechen's parents. That was how he got to know Vivian. He had to admit that his original purpose of going to Los Angeles was to see Gu Yuechen. However, everything after he met Vivian by chance was premeditated. At first, he didn't want to play tricks in the relationship. However, if his passion didn't get a response, he had to resort to unscrupulous means. In a small town in northern Europe, Zhuang Hong and his wife, who were still in their honeymoon period, were walking around the town hand in hand. The whole seaside town was filled with blue and white buildings. It looked refreshing and comfortable. The sea breeze was charming. They couldn't get enough of it. I really want to live here for the rest of my life. Ling Chunwan sighed. Then let's live here for the rest of our lives. Zhuang Hong held her hand gently and dotingly. How can that be? Everyone is waiting for us to go back. Who? Ling Chunwan began to count with her fingers. My parents, my brother, sister-in-law, Ling Yufeng, Dong Qing, Chen. Stop counting. If you keep counting, are you going to count your dog too? Yes, when we leave, we have to bring a bag of seafood dog food for Apollo. Looking at Ling Chunwan's excited face, Zhuang Hong was helpless. How could he bear to break the little girl's beautiful dream? Before leaving, his parents-in-law had told them that they would be late and that they wouldn't have time to receive them. On the day they set off, his parents-in-law had embarked on a world trip again and didn't intend to wait for them to go back. As for Gu Yao and his wife, they were even more busy. One was busy with the acquisition of a company, the other was busy with a world tour, and the others had their own things to do. Only his little girl would think that everyone was like her and live a very comfortable and leisurely life. As for Gu Yuechen, that arrogant young lady, he didn't know whether she was raising a little puppy or being eyed covetously by a little wolf. Why didn't you let me explain it to Chen before I left? I don't blame her anymore, but she seems to care a lot. Ling Chunwan suddenly remembered what had happened before. After the wedding, she was going to explain the misunderstanding to Gu Yuechen, but Zhuang Hong stopped her and didn't tell her why. At this moment, Zhuang Hong had a smile in his eyes. That young lady is heartless. She looks rude, but she doesn't have any scheming at all. If you don't let her experience the bitterness herself, she doesn't know what she needs at all. She still wants to find you every day. To put it bluntly, Zhuang Hong just didn't want this young lady to cling to his little wife every day. Of course, he had to explain it, but it wasn't during their honeymoon. Who knew if that young lady would follow them to Northern Europe on a whim and ruin his plan to make a baby? Based on Zhuang Hong's understanding of Gu Yuechen, he felt that she would do this. Let her feel uncomfortable and let her feel that Ling Chunwan hadn't forgiven her for the time being. At this time, Lanjiang City's Hanyan Mountain Villa was in chaos. Do you know whose daughter Duan Ruyun is? You agreed to Yu Feng's relationship with her? Fu Yingxiang was so angry that she rubbed her forehead. Ling Zhan hurriedly closed the door and said in a low voice, "Keep your voice down. It hasn't been confirmed yet, right?" "How can it not be confirmed?" "Before Hong Jie left, she told me that the girl was adopted by her when she was 12 years old. At that time, she already had memories. Hong Jie saw her running out of the house to see her." "Okay, even if she is her daughter, now that she's gone, it shouldn't be a big deal for her to be with Yufeng, right? I'm just afraid that she has other motives." Chapter 596. In an entertainment club in Lanjiang City. For more than 20 years, the wind and rain had not moved. Every year, at the sisters' gathering before New Year's Eve, all the people who should be there would be present. The waiter would close the door after bringing in the fruit platter and the like. The room was isolated from the deafening music outside. In the room, a handsome young man was playing the guitar and singing a soothing folk song. Among the women present, the youngest were Chen Yin and Gu Min. Their children were already 18 years old. It seemed that more than 20 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Some of them already had white hair. Su Hong and Gu Fengfeng had passed away from cancer more than 10 years ago. These people, who had spent their early years in the martial arts world and exhausted their bodies, seemed to be not blessed by the heavens. Every year at the gathering, everyone would sigh at the mention of it. It was rare to have a gathering, and the spring festival was approaching, so the sisters were in a good mood. Yi Huanyan noticed Fu Yingxiang's worried look. Thinking of the things that had happened in their family in the past few years, she could not help but ask. Fourth sister, it's rare to have a gathering. Don't be unhappy about Yufeng today. Ever since Ling Yufeng proposed to marry Duan Ruyun 3 years ago, their family had not been peaceful. For some reason, Fu Yingxiang and Ling Zhan did not agree to the marriage of the two children. Ling Yufeng was also a child who would not turn back once he had made up his mind. In a fit of anger, he moved out of the villa and lived with Duan Ruyun. He had not returned home in the past 3 years. Fu Yingxiang frowned. It's not that I don't agree with their marriage, but that child's identity makes people think too much. She is Gu Duo's daughter. It's not that you don't know that Sister Hong adopted her out of kindness. After she left, half of the family business was given to her because she had no children. But who knows what she is thinking? Yi Huanyan persuaded. Don't worry so much. Look, after so many years, they are still together. If that girl had any other thoughts, she would not have been with Yufeng for so long. Third sister's considerations are not unreasonable. Zhuang Suqiu interrupted. I watched Ruyun grow up. She's quite scheming. Back then, Zhuang Hong suddenly proposed to marry that girl. It took me a long time to figure it out. That girl used the entire Dongling group in exchange. That girl is very ambitious. She doesn't seem like someone who can easily live a good life with Yufeng. Let's wait and see. You businessmen always think too much, Liao said. Yi Huanyan stretched lazily and leaned against the sofa lazily. If you ask me, the younger generation will have their own happiness. Why do you care so much? Which one of us didn't have twists and turns back then? Didn't we still live until now? Which one of you isn't satisfied with your life? As soon as this was said, the others had no objections. More than 20 years ago, after Zhuang Suqiu was released from prison, she divorced her husband. However, later on, her business was doing very well. Now, the development of the Zhuangyu group was unstoppable. In addition, her adopted son, Zhuang Hong, was indeed not an ordinary person. 3 years ago, he married Yi Huanyan's daughter. Zhuang Suqiu was very satisfied with this marriage. This adopted son made her very proud. After Zhuang Yu, the daughter of her husband and his mistress, found out about her background a few years ago, she cleared up the misunderstanding between her and Zhuang Suqiu. Now, she loved to stick to her and treated her and Zhuang Hong as more important than her own family. Now, she wholeheartedly helped her brother to manage the group. Fu Yingxiang's life was even more obvious. She married Ling Zhan, who was younger than her. Her life was like a phone call. Of the two sons, one was carefree and unrestrained, and the other was mature and steady. Everyone was envious. If anyone was dissatisfied with their life, Yi Huanyan would be the first to jump out and refute. I'm not satisfied. Chen Yin had a plum in her mouth and said vaguely, I think my husband is not handsome enough. Everyone collectively looked at her with disdain. Chen Yin's husband, Pure Feather, was the best actor in many film festivals. He attracted female fans and was said to be the man that all women in Asia wanted to marry the most. She was now fearless. Then who do you think is handsome? Yi Huanyan looked at her with interest. The young man who plays the guitar is younger than my husband. Hey, that's younger, not handsome. Your son is about the same age as him. You've had enough. Everyone attacked. Yi Huanyan laughed at the side. You guys should know your limits. After all, she's an old woman in her 40s. If anything happens, Pure Feather will fight with you. Come on, she's already full term, but she can't give birth. She even came out with us. Pure Feather didn't care. I wonder if the two of you are really playing on your own like the news and gossip said. Whose child is this? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha, it's the truth. Everyone was in a mess, and Fu Yingxiang's originally gloomy brows gradually relaxed. Perhaps Yi Huanyan was right. Children and grandchildren had their own happiness. Why should he care so much? Since he had been with that girl for 3 years, it didn't matter if he got their permission or not. After the party that day, Fu Yingxiang asked Ling Dongqing to send a message to Ling Yufeng, asking him to bring his girlfriend home for the new year. The ice between the mother and son for 3 years was finally broken. It was a happy event for the new year. On the eve of the new year, Ling Yufeng took Duan Ruyun home. Fu Yingxiang called her future daughter-in-law into her room and handed her a pair of jade bracelets. Her face was relieved and full of blessings. Yufeng has been with you for 3 years. I know it's useless to stop him. My only hope is that you can live well with him after marriage. Treat him well and don't let down his feelings for you. That's enough. Duan Ruyun lowered her head and took the bracelets. Her expression was a little complicated. I thought you wouldn't accept me. What if I didn't accept you? Then I'll wait. Actually, this wasn't your original plan, right? Fu Yingxiang was silent for a few seconds. Suddenly, she looked at her with a sharp gaze. The figure outside the door suddenly paused and stopped opening the door. I know you and Uncle have always doubted my motives. Duan Ruyun's expression was calm, as if she had already thought about it carefully. I won't deny that I approached Yufeng 3 years ago with an ulterior motive. However, it only took me a month to dispel this motive, whether you believe it or not. After a long silence, Fu Yingxiang asked, one last question. How is your mother now? At the mention of this, a trace of pain appeared on Duan Ruyun's face and her voice became hoarse. I changed her to another hospital last week. Sometimes she can recognize me, but sometimes she can't even recognize who I am. After saying this, she looked at Fu Yingxiang stubbornly with tears in her eyes. I don't know what happened between you and my mother, but she is still my mother. I won't deny her existence. For a moment, Fu Yingxiang's heart was filled with mixed feelings. After a long while, she found her voice. Your mother and I grew up together. Chapter 597. Duan Ruyun's face was filled with shock. How is that possible? Didn't your mother tell you what happened in the past? Very rarely. What about your father? Duan Ruyun frowned with a complicated look in her eyes. She hesitated for a long time before speaking. My mother said that my father loved her very much. My father was the only person in the world who didn't want her to be wronged. But in the end, they were still separated. He even wanted to force her to have an abortion and kill me before I was born. So she hated those who had separated them. There was no doubt who those people were. Fu Yingxiang didn't need to think too much to count them, including herself, the imaginary enemy in Gu Duo's eyes. Do you believe it? She asked. Duan Ruyun was slightly stunned. It seemed that it was the first time someone had questioned her like this. Do you believe it? Do you believe what your mother told you? My mother told me this when she was mentally sound. I know, but do you believe it? Even if it was a mentally sound person, would their words be trustworthy? Duan Ruyun hesitated for a long time and didn't respond. She used to firmly believe it because it was her mother. That was the thought and hatred that had been instilled in her since she could remember. But when she was 10 years old, her mother suddenly sent her to the orphanage and told her a terrible plan. That plan, which lasted for more than 10 years, made her feel the hostility from her mother for the first time, as well as the deep resentment towards the world. Could what she said be true? Even if it was true, how many mothers would throw their children to a notorious orphanage and let their daughters be covered with a layer of unbearable childhood trauma? It was true that Gu Duo was her biological mother. She had raised her for 10 years, but she had sent her to the orphanage and watched her suffer 2 years of inhumane abuse. Then, she fled and coincidentally fell in front of Su Hong's car. During the 5 years that she was by Su Hong's side, she had never revealed anything. She was just a little girl who had been abused by the orphanage, and her mother's plan was to use her to get close to Su Hong's closest friends, especially Yi Huanyan and Fu Yingxiang's families. However, her mother thought that the plan was meticulous, but she neglected one point. Su Hong had very little personal time. All those years, she was with Duan Fei. Even if it was Su Hong's sister's gathering, she had never been brought along. The first time she had interacted with these people was after Su Hong passed away. What is the truth? Duan Ruyun asked. If it's not true, then tell me the truth. Fu Yingxiong sighed. Since you didn't do anything, you don't need to know. Your mother won't ask you to do anything anymore, right? It's because I didn't do anything that I want to know the truth. I want to know why my mother has been forcing me for so many years. People don't go crazy over something for no reason. What kind of person is my father? The one your mother is talking about is not your father. Duan Ruyun's face froze, and she stared blankly at Fu Yingxiong. After so many years, she still hasn't let go of the obsession in her heart. Duan Ruyun's face turned slightly pale, and it took her a while to find her voice. What did you say? I don't know who your biological father is, but I'm sure that Gu Xinian is not. Fu Yingxiong's eyes were burning. She was very sure that nothing had happened between Gu Xinian and Gu Duo. The child that Gu Duo was pregnant with was said to be Ling Han's, but it was eventually proven that it had nothing to do with Ling Han. However, according to Gu Duo's character and what she had asked her daughter to do, she was probably deceiving herself all these years. Duan Ruyun seemed to be in disbelief at this result. But mother has always said, if you don't believe me, you can ask Duan Fei's mother. Hearing the name Duan Fei, Duan Ruyun's eyes froze, and she subconsciously clenched her fingers. She couldn't hide the grief in her heart, and it was all expressed in her eyes. Duan Fei was a man that she thought she would never be able to let go of for the rest of her life before she met Ling Yufeng. He was also the man that she couldn't ask for, and was the biggest regret and guilt in her life. Not long after Duan Ruyun left, Fu Yingxiong tidied up the old photos that she had dug out. Looking at the few pieces of jewelry in the wooden box, the corners of her eyes were a little wet. She had been at odds with Gu Duo for many years. Now that Gu Duo had ended up like this, she could only sigh and even sympathize with her. If she hadn't met Ling Zhan, perhaps she would have been addicted to her previous relationship and couldn't extricate herself for the rest of her life. Perhaps she would be the one who would be unhappy for the rest of her life and be obsessed until she grew old. The heavens still cared about her, and she should be content. Mom. A slightly hoarse voice came from behind. Her figure moved slightly, and she raised her hand to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. She turned around and forced a smile. Why are you here? Aren't you going to accompany Ruyun? Mom, why are you crying? It's nothing. I was just tidying up the old things and got confused. Ling Yufeng frowned, and his eyes were full of worry. I heard what you said to Xiaoyun. Are you thinking of Auntie Hong? Fu Yingxiong, who was holding the jewelry box, stopped. A clear sadness flashed across her eyes as she whispered. You still remember your Auntie Hong? I remember. Ling Yufeng took a deep breath, and his furrowed brows slowly relaxed. Auntie Hong is very cheerful and doesn't care about anything. Among all your friends, I actually like Auntie Hong the most. Yes, she is very cheerful. Fu Yingxiong's thoughts drifted a little far away. Su Hong was so cheerful. When she was in prison with her, she was the one who loved to smile the most. Before everyone was honest with her, she was the only one who never had sadness written on her face. Mom, do you have anything to say to me? Her son's voice pulled Fu Yingxiong's thoughts back. She touched her son's cheek and smiled. It's nothing. Ruyun is a good girl. Treat her well in the future. If she wants to talk about the past, you can listen. If she doesn't want to talk about it, don't ask her. Some stories were more suitable to be buried deep in the heart. The dinner was very pleasant. It was New Year's Eve, and Hanyan Villa was decorated with lanterns and colored banners everywhere. Most of the children in the villa were about the same age. Ling Dongqing set off a string of firecrackers, which unexpectedly exploded in the courtyard with a series of booming sounds. Ling Yufeng himself was startled and immediately covered Duan Ruyun's ears in a flurry, for fear that she would also be frightened. The smoke was full of the New Year's celebration. Ling Fangyun's brothers and sisters of the same generation were running around the courtyard happily like children. Duan Ruyun looked up at Ling Yufeng with a complicated expression. "What's wrong with you?" From the shape of his mouth, she could tell that Ling Yufeng was worried about her. She shook her head and pulled down his hands, covering her ears. "I'm fine. I'm just a little envious of you." Chapter 598. What did you say? Ling Yufeng tilted his head and leaned close to her, as if he hadn't heard her clearly. She smiled, stood on tiptoe, and planted a kiss on his cheek before quickly entering the house. Hanyan Villa wasn't as extravagant as it was rumored to be, where there were a bunch of young masters and young ladies who didn't know anything about the world. This place was full of smoke and fire, and the people who grew up here smiled calmly and fearlessly. One could tell at a glance that they had grown up in happiness. That was why she was envious. The light in the bedroom was dim. Ling Yufeng followed her in and asked her what was wrong. She lifted the quilt and climbed into bed. Her voice was gloomy as she said, "I'm tired. I want to sleep for a while. Is that okay?" Ling Yufeng stood by the bed for a while and asked, "Do you want me to accompany you?" "No need. You can go and play with them. I think your cousin was calling you just now." There was the sound of the door closing. After the door was locked with a click, the room was silent. Duan Ruyun leaned against the pillow and looked at the fire on the window. She inexplicably sighed in her heart. After Fang Fei passed away 3 years ago, for a long time, she felt that she had reached the end of her life. Her mother forced her to interact with the Gu family and the Ling family. She was like a walking corpse that was at the mercy of others. First, she started with Zhuangyu Group and found out that their internal capital chain was broken. Then, she proposed to get engaged to Zhuang Hong and merge the entire bar industry chain left behind by Su Hong with Zhuangyu Group. When she was doing all this, she didn't have any thoughts and just followed her mother's arrangements. She never thought about right or wrong, nor did she think about what her mother wanted her to do. She used to think that her mother's resentment came from taking revenge on a heartless man, but now she knew that it was just a resentful obsession of a woman who didn't ask for anything and couldn't get it her whole life. Thinking about it made her feel ridiculous. Now that she thought about it, the years she spent growing up by Su Hong and Duan Fei's side were the happiest days of her life. Although it wasn't as lively as the Cold Mist Villa, the husband and wife treated her sincerely as if she was their own daughter. Su Hong was never married and had no children. However, when she adopted her, she had a young boyfriend. Her life was very comfortable, and she had a successful career and love life. Before she adopted her, she was very happy. The only drawback was that her little boyfriend always liked to be at odds with her. Every time after being at odds with her, he would run away from home in a fit of pique. Su Hong would hold her hand and stand at the entrance of the courtyard, waiting for him to come back. Every time she waited until dusk, she could see a tall figure walking slowly in their direction on the distant road. Over the past 5 years, Duan Ruyun had seen this scene countless times. In her memory, the first time she had seen such a scene was the day she had just arrived at the Su family. It was also the day she had been adopted. Su Hong had just brought her home from the hospital, changed her into new clothes, and then told her that she was taking her to see an uncle. The uncle turned hostile on the spot. "What daughter? I don't want a daughter. Send her back to where she came from. She escaped from the orphanage and almost lost her life. Do you want me to send her back? I don't care. It's either me or her." "Duan Fei, stop throwing a tantrum." "I'm throwing a tantrum? You're the one who raised my temper." After saying this, the uncle slammed the door and left. Duan Ruyun shrank behind the sofa and looked at Su Hong timidly. Fear was written all over her face. That year, Su Hong was already in her 50s. Although she took good care of herself, there was still some vicissitudes between her eyebrows. After the uncle slammed the door and left, she sighed, then turned around and touched Duan Ruyun's head helplessly and comforted her. "Don't be afraid, Xiao Yun. Uncle is just joking with me. He'll be back tonight. Come with me to the supermarket and see what we're going to eat tonight, okay?" At that time, she was still young, but because she had experienced too much, she matured earlier than her peers. Children in the orphanage had to be obedient and timid if they wanted to be adopted. That was the only way to win sympathy. Therefore, she knew how to pretend to be weak and knew how a child could move a woman who wanted to be a mother. She successfully stayed. At that time, at first, she was not sure what the relationship between this young uncle and Su Hong was, but from the quarrel, she could roughly feel that they were very close. Su Hong was right. In the evening, when the uncle came back, Su Hong did not cook at all before dinner. She did not even touch the vegetables she bought. After the uncle came back, he did not say a word. He rolled up his sleeves and went into the kitchen. Ding Ling smashed things loudly as if she was venting her dissatisfaction. During dinner, the uncle said to her, "Do you want to stay?" She nodded. "If you want to stay, you have to promise me one thing. Otherwise, I guarantee that you won't be able to stay here. Don't call me uncle. You have to call me brother." It was an extremely childish request. At that time, Duan Ruyun was 12 years old. She was not pure or naive. There must be a hidden meaning behind this brother, but she could not refuse. She wanted to be a naive little girl and had to obey all arrangements. Later, she called this man called Duan Fei brother for 5 years. She still remembered that when she called Duan Fei brother in front of Su Hong the next day, Su Hong's expression became very ugly. The two of them quarreled again. This time, Su Hong was the one who slammed the door and left. At that time, she realized that Su Hong's temper was actually not as good as her temper during this period of time. Many years later, she eavesdropped on Duan Fei and Su Hong's conversation. At that time, Su Hong was not in good health and was lying in bed. A serious illness made Duan Fei lose his usual shy temper. He obediently wiped Su Hong's face and mentioned that he wanted to adopt her that year. "It's not that I don't want you to adopt a child, but it's not like you haven't experienced how hard it is to raise a child. You're even helping someone else raise a child. Isn't it enough to raise a child once? In the end, it'll be like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Do you feel good?" "What do you mean by drawing water with a bamboo basket? Haven't you always been here? I can't even chase you away." "That's because I'm kind-hearted. I'm afraid that you'll die alone." At that time, she found out that Duan Fei had been adopted by Su Hong. After she was officially adopted, the person who took care of her the most was not Su Hong. Su Hong was very busy. She was very career-oriented. She left early and returned late every day. Most of the time, she was on a business trip. Other than the week-long holiday during the Spring Festival, the rest of her time was fragmented. Therefore, she lived with Duan Fei for almost all of those 5 years. Duan Fei usually had a very good temper and was a carefree person. He was in his 30s, but he had the radiance of a 20-year-old youth. He was full of vitality. He brought her to climb mountains, swim, bungee jump, and do everything that he wanted to do with Su Hong, but Su Hong did not have the time to accompany him. When they climbed halfway up the mountain, Duan Fei would remove the weight from her body. He taught her how to swim step by step, and she did not drink a mouthful of water. That time when they bungee jumped, she was so scared that she got her period for the first time. Chapter 599. She didn't have many memories of Su Hong. In those 5 years, all her memories were about Su Hong, and they were always arguing. People were always weird, missing each other when they weren't around, and arguing when they were around. In his impression, Su Hong and Duan Fei's quarrel had never stopped. Sometimes, when Su Hong had just returned from a business trip, Duan Fei would instantly pull a long face and start to lose his temper in less than 10 seconds, even though she had been anxiously waiting for him the whole day and had prepared a table full of delicious dishes. After that, he would slam the door and run away from home. Su Hong would hold her hand and wait at the door of the courtyard, waiting for the sun to set, waiting for him to come back, waiting for the 12-year-old Duan Ruyun to grow into a young girl who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Su Hong. 5 years could change a world, and the happiest 5 years of youth passed quickly. The 17-year-old Duan Ruyun was like a budding flower bud, while Su Hong was like a withered rose, quickly sinking. The spread of cancer cells was never absent from every checkup, and the haze didn't last long. In just half a year, she left that home forever. On the day Su Hong left, Duan Fei held her hand tightly in the funeral parlor, his eyes bloodshot, as if they were about to drip blood. He refused to let the people in the funeral parlor send her in for cremation. Those sisters who came to send Su Hong off for the last time were all red-eyed, and no one could persuade him. Later, a woman dressed like a noblewoman came. She was about the same age as Su Hong, and she took good care of herself. Her manners were very dignified, but such a woman slapped Duan Fei in front of so many people. Duan Ruyun still remembered the words of the noblewoman. "If I knew you were going to spend the rest of your life with her, I would have strangled you to death and not let her raise you." The farce at the funeral became fragments of her memory, but now it could all be pieced together. Later, the aunties who attended the funeral chatted and talked about Duan Fei and Su Hong's past. Amidst their sighs, they forgot about the young girl standing in the corner and listened to those words. Su Hong was a prostitute in her early years. When she was 13 or 14 years old, she came out to make a living. She had done everything. Because of her righteousness, she had many good friends. Because of her righteousness, many people liked to ask her for help. Very few were rejected. One day, one of her sisters came to her and begged her. The sister had said that she had washed her hands of gold and had not appeared in the clubhouse for a long time. The reason was that she had been a concubine with a big official for 2 years. This time, she was implicated in the big official's corruption, so the sister entrusted her newborn child to her. That year, Su Hong was 16 years old. She was already a very outstanding young lady in the circle. Her service fees were very high. She had originally planned to quit after 2 more years. Now, if she were to adopt a child for no reason, it would affect her business. However, she still adopted the child. At the age of 16, Su Hong had already grown up from a young lady to a mother. She didn't do the prostitution business herself, but she led a group of daughters under her. Her business was also thriving, and there was a faint momentum of becoming the #1 nightclub in Lonjiang City. At that time, the boy's mother suddenly came to the door and clearly said that she wanted to take her son away. Su Hong naturally didn't say anything. Although she was reluctant, he was someone else's son after all. Since he was a foster child, it was reasonable for others to take him away. However, the boy made a fuss and made up his mind not to leave. He followed her back several times and ran back. He knew that he was not Su Hong's son since he was young, but his attachment to Su Hong had never decreased. After following this woman for so many years, he couldn't and didn't want to leave. The boy simply told his mother, thinking that his mother would forgive them because they were once sisters. However, he didn't expect that his mother only thought that Su Hong had seduced her son. She didn't know the boy's thoughts at all. Even Su Hong herself didn't know. In anger, she played some tricks behind her back and made Su Hong go to prison. She went to prison for 5 years. In the 5 years, the boy fought hard at the beginning and learned to be smart. Finally, Su Hong was released from prison. However, even if she was released from prison, his mother would never agree to let her son be with a woman of the same age as her, not to mention that this woman was a young lady. At that time, the boy's mother had already married a rich businessman. Her past was washed away by jewelry. She probably forgot that she used to be in the same industry. The process of resistance was very difficult. Fortunately, Su Hong had made many friends over the years. Her power in Lonjiang City was tangled and complicated. His mother, who used to be able to control everything, was finally unable to interfere. After many times of help, the boy's mother finally had no choice. In a fit of anger, she cut off the relationship with the boy and drove him out of the house. The boy didn't care. He packed his simple luggage and moved in with Su Hong. They lived together for more than 10 years. Because the boy's household register wasn't in her hands, they didn't get a marriage certificate. Because Su Hong's health wasn't good, they didn't have children. The only child they adopted was scheming against them. The boy was Duan Fei, Duan Ruyun's adoptive father in name. When she was 17, She found out that the man she called brother for 5 years was also adopted by Su Hong in the early years. He was really her brother in name. Therefore, every time she called him brother, Su Hong's expression was very ugly. When she was 17, she had many teenage fantasies. The only gentleness in her life was given to her by this man. Perhaps she didn't dare to think about it in the past, but perhaps Su Hong's death was a chance given to her by God. Later, Duan Fei began to drink. He drank day and night. His temperament changed drastically. The originally bright and beautiful man aged like an old man in his twilight years overnight. More than half of his hair also turned white. The management rights of the entire group fell on her alone. She was 17 that year and didn't have any appeal. Su Hong didn't teach her anything before. Because the industry she was in was special, there were many things that couldn't be explained clearly. She had to bribe people from top to bottom, and her methods were terrible. Therefore, a 17-year-old girl said all kinds of things along the way. But she didn't care. She had her own selfish motives. She thought that maybe if she did well enough, that man would look back at her and look at her with the same gentle and worshipful gaze that he used to look at Su Hong. Therefore, she could move forward bravely and fearlessly. When she was 22, it was the 10th year that she accompanied him. It was also the 5th year that they relied on each other for survival after Su Hong left. The wine bottles in the house piled up like a mountain, and the servants changed batch after batch. Just when she thought that time could wash away everything, that man named Duan Fei left her at a loss. She didn't even have the time to voice out her wishes and thoughts when the man rushed off the overpass due to drunk driving and died on the spot. When the police informed her to claim the body as a family member, she drove the car. Her hands holding the steering wheel couldn't stop trembling, and the engine stalled several times on the road. When she arrived, the body was already cold. Her hand brushed past his eyebrows and landed on his lips, stopping at the curve of his smile. At that moment, she suddenly calmed down. It turned out that 5 years wasn't enough to forget a person. After you left, this dream of life came to an end. Chapter 600. Ling Chunwan was circling around a pile of fireworks. Zhuang Hong was afraid that she would be burned by the fireworks in the hands of the little brats next to her, so he had no choice but to chase the little brats away one by one. When Ling Chunwan turned around and saw that there was no one behind her, she was puzzled. Where are Bai Jing and the others? They went to East Lake. Then I want to go too. The fireworks will definitely look better by the lake. Hearing this, Zhuang Hong pulled her into his arms. They said they don't want to play with fireworks anymore. They want to set off firecrackers. Ling Chunwan was most afraid of hearing noises. Ever since she was scared by Gu Yuechen and the others when she was a child, she refused to play with firecrackers. When she heard this, she shrank into Zhuang Hong's arms. Then I'd better not go. I'll just play here. Zhuang Hong smiled dotingly and hugged her tighter. Are you cold? If you are, go back to the house first. They had been married for 3 years. On New Year's Eve, they went to the capital in Lan River. This was discussed before they got married. They would take turns year after year. No one would be at a disadvantage. This year, it was Lan River's turn. Ling Chunwan raised her head from Zhuang Hong's arms. She was about to respond when she saw a figure in the house. Her eyes lit up and she shouted, Yufeng, come here quickly. Don't you like fireworks the most? Ling Yufeng glanced at her and smiled a little reluctantly. Ling Chunwan was puzzled and pulled Zhuang Hong over. What's wrong? It's been 3 years. Uncle Ling finally let you come home for the new year. Why are you still so gloomy? It's nothing. Ling Yufeng looked lost. I just feel that we have been in the villa for too long. We have been too well protected since we were young. The outside world is much crueler than here. Ling Chunwan glanced at Zhuang Hong and hesitated. Have you also heard about Chen? Ling Yufeng was taken aback. Chen. It's not about Chen. Ling Chunwan sat down on the swing next to him. She swayed a few times and said to herself, That's right. Who would have thought that they would get a divorce after being married for just over a year? She has always had a bad temper since she was young. I don't know why, but she just can't get along with her mother-in-law. The Luo family has already fallen out with uncle and the rest. Ling Yufeng wasn't lamenting about Gu Yuechen's matter. Although he had heard about it, he couldn't help but worry when Ling Chunwan mentioned it. I heard about this too. Wasn't everything fine before Christmas? Why are you getting divorced just like that? The rumors outside were a bit unpleasant. They all said that Gu Yuechen had a man outside, so the Luo family clenched their teeth and refused to let go of the division of assets after marriage. They directly said that they wanted Gu Yuechen to leave the marriage with nothing. Back then, when Gu Yuechen got married, the Four Seasons villa used half of the Gu group as a dowry. Just the shares in Gu Xinyan's hands were transferred to this future son-in-law, Luo Qing. It was just for him to treat his daughter well. Who would have thought that such a thing would happen? I'm not too sure either. I haven't seen Ah Chen since the accident. I've called her twice. She said that she was meeting a lawyer and was very busy. She didn't tell me clearly. I thought you would contact her. After Ling Yufeng fell out with his family, his parents cut off his source of income. His parents gave a strict order to all the younger generation in the family that no one was allowed to help him. At that time, it was Gu Yuechen, who had been the fiercest with him since he was a child, who secretly helped him. He shook his head. I heard about this not long ago. The Gu group is probably afraid of the stock market fluctuation, so the divorce has been suppressed by the Four Seasons villa and hasn't been spread. I heard about it from Dong Qing. Ling Chunwan sighed. Chen too. She didn't think it through when she got married, and she didn't live a good life after getting married. Are you sure the rumors are true? Zhuang Hong frowned. It might be a rumor. Ling Chunwan didn't care and said seriously, it might be a rumor. Ah Chen would do such a thing. I know her too well. She doesn't like Luo Qing at all. Do you know something? Zhuang Hong glanced at her with a meaningful look. Ling Chunwan coughed dryly. I'm a little cold. I'm going back to the room. You guys can talk. Looking at his wife running away, he didn't need to think to know that she was obviously guilty. He wasn't in a hurry. Anyway, he had plenty of time to slowly talk to her at night. Right now, he was more worried about Ling Yufeng. You weren't talking about Gu Yuechen just now, were you? Ling Yufeng was slightly stunned and didn't say anything. It was a tacit admission. Because of Duan Ruyun? Ling Yufeng frowned and explained, don't think too much. It's not what you think. What do you think I think? Zhuang Hong casually sat down on the swing where Ling Chunwan sat before. His slender fingers held the rope, and his expression was relaxed. After getting married, he had gained a lot of weight. His originally thin face was now a little plump, and it was all thanks to his wife who was known for her excellent cooking skills. I heard that you went to the Red Mansion before coming back? Hearing this, Ling Yufeng raised his head and looked at Zhuang Hong in surprise. How did you know? He had been very careful. No one should have known. Don't worry about how I know. I'm just curious. What were you looking for there? The Red Mansion was an art museum. In fact, it was a garden-style house that Duan Fei had personally designed and built to store Su Hong's relics. Later, after Duan Fei died in a car accident, the Red Mansion was donated to the country and became a small museum in Lanjiang City. Only the innermost courtyard of the garden was locked up and stored Su Hong's relics. When Ling Yufeng got to know Duan Ruyun, Su Hong and Duan Fei had already passed away a long time ago. Logically speaking, he shouldn't be so curious about Su Hong and Duan Fei and especially go to such a place. Zhuang Hong was very direct. He guessed that Ling Yufeng went to the Red Mansion to look for something. As for what he was looking for, he could guess. Why do you ask? Ling Yufeng frowned and the surprise in his eyes gradually turned into vigilance. Did you go to the courtyard in the southeast corner of the Red Mansion? Zhuang Hong asked. So you should have seen Duan Fei and Su Hong's tomb. But did you get the answer you wanted? Ling Yufeng's eyebrows trembled. Duan Ruyun's reputation was not good. This was the reason why the whole family disagreed with his relationship. After all, she had been in the bar business since she was 17 years old. With a foster mother like Su Hong, she had to greet and send off people with a smile. However, the thing that the outside world liked to talk about the most was her relationship with her foster father. She didn't know when it started, but there were rumors that she and her foster father had an incestuous relationship, but she had never come forward to explain it. At first, Ling Yufeng only treated this matter as a rumor and never took it to heart. Until half a year ago, when he moved and was packing up, he found a photo album of Duan Ruyun under the bed. There were many photos in the album. Since she was 12 years old, it was a thick album. What surprised him was that there were always only 2 people in the photos. Su Hong's figure had never appeared. Chapter 601. Since half a year ago, he began to pay attention to where Duan Ruyun went when she was not by his side. He secretly followed her twice. One time, she said on the phone that she was going on a business trip, but in fact, she stayed in the Red Pavilion for a week. The place where she stayed was the courtyard of the Red Pavilion that was locked all year round. You suspect that she has an affair with her adoptive father? Zhuang Hong frowned, showing some displeasure. These words were particularly harsh to hear. Ling Yufeng suddenly panicked, as if he had done something wrong. He didn't even dare to look into Zhuang Hong's eyes. After a long while, he whispered, "I didn't mean that. I know Ruyun's character. She wouldn't do such a thing. I was just thinking, I was just afraid." Seeing him at a loss, Zhuang Hong's heart softened. It was difficult to associate the confused man in front of him with the playboy who took Ling Chunwan to the capital 3 years ago to kidnap the bride. The 3 years of training made him grow up, but it also ground away his edges and arrogance. If you want to know something, it's best not to guess it yourself. If you don't know what to say or do, the best way is to tell the truth and ask directly. Ling Yufeng was slightly stunned and looked at Zhuang Hong in surprise. But what if? There are no ifs. Life is real. No one can live in an illusion. No matter what the truth is, you should accept it. Even if it is the worst kind, you have to accept it. Don't close your eyes and shut your ears, and don't make your own assumptions. Zhuang Hong's words made Ling Yufeng's uneasy heart gradually calm down. In the past 6 months, he had thought of countless solutions, but every time, he delayed it with the excuse that the family matters had not been resolved. If he hadn't eavesdropped on his mother's conversation with Duan Ruyun today, he wouldn't have thought of these unpleasant things on such a day. At that time, Duan Ruyun's words, "Your parents won't agree to our marriage, so I don't want to waste time on you," were enough to make him go home and lay his cards on the table. How could it end just like that? He loved Duan Ruyun deeply, so he would never let go. And the thing that deep love was most afraid of was being unfaithful. What if 3 years was not enough for her to love him as much as he loved her? What if the person she loved after 3 years was not him? What if she was just tired and wanted to spend the rest of her life with an ordinary person? He was afraid that what he had with her was not love. It was late at night and the lights in the room were dim. A figure was lying on his side with his back facing the door. Ling Yufeng carefully closed the door, but still startled the person on the bed. Duan Ruyun got up from the bed. Her black hair scattered over her shoulders, making her look dreamy and indescribably beautiful. With a trace of sleepiness in her eyes, she asked in a hoarse voice, "You're back. Why is it so quiet outside? Let's disperse. Nuanyuan and the others have also returned to their own courtyards. It's a little cold outside." Duan Ruyun pulled up the blanket beside her and asked with concern, "Go to bed. Your nose is red from the cold." Ling Yufeng sat on the edge of the bed and tucked him in. "Why are you awake? Is it because it's too noisy outside?" Duan Ruyun pulled up the pillow behind her and put it behind her back. She shook her head. "No, I just had a dream. It scared me, so I woke up." "What dream?" "I dreamt." Duan Ruyun sniffed. When she got closer, he could see that her eyes were red. She seemed to have cried. Her voice was very soft like a mosquito. I dreamt of my adoptive father. In the dream, he didn't get into a car accident and was still alive. I told him that I was going to get married. Ling Yufeng's heart skipped a beat. After a long silence, he slowly asked, "If your adoptive father was still alive, would you still come home with me?" This question was tactful and was not as direct as Zhuang Hong's. But he thought that with Duan Ruyun's intelligence, she should be able to tell what he wanted to ask. Duan Ruyun was silent for a long time before she spoke. Her voice was very dull. "If my adoptive father is still alive, I want to bring him along." Ling Yufeng was puzzled, but he heard a sigh. He turned around and saw Duan Ruyun's small face full of worry. Her brows were slightly furrowed, and her eyes were dim. "My adoptive father was lonely all his life. He was abandoned at birth. He loved someone for more than 10 years but couldn't get her. Later, he finally overcame all difficulties and got together with her, but he couldn't grow old together. During those years together, they were always quarreling. In the end, he watched his lover die in his arms. My adoptive father had never experienced such a lively family atmosphere like this in his life. He was actually unhappy. This kind of unhappiness was born with him, and no one could change it. So he was like this until his death." Ling Yufeng didn't know much about Duan Ruyun's adoptive father. When he was young, he often heard some words from his parents and aunts, but he didn't take it seriously. He only remembered that when Su Hong was still alive, she came back to the villa as a guest and chatted with his mother. He heard Su Hong say something. "Duan Fei was a stubborn donkey. He wouldn't stop with me for a day. As long as I didn't reply to his message for more than 3 minutes, he would make a scene. He really annoyed me to death." At that time, Ling Yufeng was in his early teens and thought that the stubborn donkey Aunt Su Hong was talking about was his son. However, he didn't see the so-called stubborn donkey until that night when Duan Fei came to pick her up. He was nearly 187 meters tall and in his 30s. He was exceptionally handsome with a pair of particularly bright eyes. When he smiled, it was as if he was bathing in the spring breeze. He looked very mature and steady. No matter how one looked at him, he didn't look like someone who liked to make trouble for no reason. I used to think that I was the same kind of person as him. Because I was afraid of losing, I was particularly cautious and even overly sensitive about everything I had. I thought that I was in the same boat as him, but until he died, I realized that I never really understood him. Duan Ruyun's voice suddenly choked. "Do you know? When he died, he was smiling. Some people seem to be unhappy their whole life, but as long as there was another person, then their happiness would be there. They would tightly bind their happiness to another person, fusing with the other person's soul and flesh, unable to be separated. Therefore, the 5 years after Su Hong's death was the beginning of his true unhappiness." Ling Yufeng didn't expect to hear these stories. He even forgot what he originally wanted to ask. After a moment of absent-mindedness, he felt a soft warmth on his shoulder. He was stunned. When he lowered his head slightly, he smelled the pleasant jasmine fragrance on her body. What he originally wanted to ask was no longer important. Her words just now seemed to have answered him. "You once thought that you were in the same boat, so you wishfully thought that the two of you could warm each other up. However, you didn't expect that the truth was the opposite. Except for the person who had already left, no one could warm you up. And a person whose heart was already tied to someone else couldn't warm you up either." "Yufeng, thank you." A light breeze brushed past his ears and seemed to whisper, "Thank you for appearing and redeeming the unhappiness that I thought would last until the end of my life." Chapter 602. Yi Huanyan had been very distressed recently. When Ji Xiaoye, her good friend and sister-in-law, heard the word distress, she rolled her eyes at her and put down the magazine in her hand. She said with a serious expression, "Don't worry. Don't push your luck. You have a successful career, you have a son and a daughter, your parents are healthy, and your husband loves you. Why are you distressed? Why don't you just jump off a building? I might be going through menopause." Yi Huanyan rested her chin on her hand and looked depressed in her office at the headquarters of Fengshang. Are you kidding me? Ji Xiaoye frowned. You're only 47 years old. How could you be going through menopause? I'm going through menopause. That's impossible. Don't people usually go through menopause in their 50s or 60s? A couple of days ago, Sissing told me that she had gone through menopause for more than a year. When Ji Xiaoye heard this, she swallowed hard and looked shocked. Oh my God! After a while, she realized that her reaction was not very friendly, so she added, Do you want to go to the hospital to get it checked? What if it's some other illness? Menopause at 47 years old? Although this was not impossible, Yi Huanyan maintained herself very well. A 47-year-old woman looked like she was in her early 30s and was very beautiful. No one would think that she was going through menopause. What if it turns out to be normal menopause? Yi Huanyan looked at her and suddenly looked a little indignant. 2 days ago, I read on the news that women nowadays are under too much pressure from work and life, which leads to early menopause. I think I may have been too busy with the company's affairs recently. Now even gave me a script and asked me to direct a movie for him to promote a newcomer. It was this script that caused the trouble. I stayed up for 2 days and nights, and this is it. Ji Xiaoye pursed her lips. Then according to what you said, I'm going through menopause soon. Your workload is only a fraction of mine. Do you have any compassion? Yi Huanyan's newly done nails were shining with diamond light. She scratched on the coffee table, and the reflected light almost blinded Ji Xiaoye's eyes. Ji Xiaoye waved her hand in disgust and tried to drive away the reflected light on her face, but it was in vain. No, I'm just saying that you're really exaggerating now. After leaving the company to your son, you're starting to walk the path of a rich lady? Your nails are even studded with diamonds. Are you going to carry a dog the next time I see you? Yi Huanyan lowered her head and glanced at it. Oh, this. I didn't want to do this. It was my mother. The old lady has recently become interested in manicures and insisted that I do it. Is Mom becoming more fashionable as she gets older? Upon hearing this, Yi Huanyan rolled her eyes at her. You just said that I was exaggerating. Why is it that when it comes to the old lady, it becomes fashionable? Do you have to have such double standards? Can you stop calling her old lady? I think our mother has a better mentality than you. Didn't you just come back from Iceland? Did you catch a cold? Don't keep talking about menopause. I'm starting to suspect that you're using this as an excuse to order Ling Han around. Ji Xiaoye, don't you have a conscience? When you reach menopause, don't come crying to me. You're not pregnant, are you? This thought suddenly flashed across Ji Xiaoye's mind, so she asked without thinking. Yi Huanyan frowned. That's impossible. We've always taken precautions. Think about it carefully. When Ji Xiaoye saw Yi Huanyan's hesitant expression, she clapped her hands and revealed a mischievous smile. Wow, you've hit the jackpot. Mom is going to have another grandson. Yi Huanyan's face turned a few shades paler. That's impossible. There was that one time when the two of them were out on a road trip and couldn't control themselves in the car. They couldn't buy anything in the middle of nowhere, so they didn't take precautions. Counting the days, it should be around that time. In Yi Huanyan's memory, she didn't feel anything at all when she gave birth for the first time because she was numb to the pain from the burns all over her body. The second time she gave birth, she was in so much pain that she wanted to die. Unlike what the doctors said, the second time she gave birth to Ling Chunwan would be better. Therefore, after giving birth to Ling Chunwan, she refused to have another child. This was something that she had discussed with Ling Han. Of course, Ling Han didn't object. He already had a son and a daughter, so what was there to be dissatisfied with? However, there were exceptions to everything. Today they were really unlucky. After leaving Fengshang, Yi Huanyan went straight to the pharmacy to buy a pregnancy test kit. After returning home, she locked herself in the bathroom. Ling Han was weeding in the yard. When he saw that his wife had returned, she didn't greet him. He hurriedly entered the house and slammed the door shut. He threw down the weeder and took off his gloves as he walked into the house. Yen Yen. Ling Han knocked on the bathroom door and asked, "What's wrong? You went into the bathroom as soon as you came back?" Yi Huanyan was taking off her pants in the bathroom. She replied impatiently, "Go stay where it's cool." These words made him depressed. Ling Han thought that he had been very good these days. First, he didn't respond to the female tourists who took the initiative to strike up a conversation with him. Second, he didn't forget to buy skincare products for his wife. Third, he didn't, "Honey, what did I do wrong to make you angry?" A good man should know how to give in at any time and place. Yi Huanyan was sitting on the toilet and waiting for the pregnancy test kit to change. After hearing this, she became even more impatient. "You did everything wrong. Don't bother me." There was no sound from outside the door. Yi Huanyan originally thought that Ling Han had left. Unexpectedly, a few seconds later, she heard the sound of a key being inserted into the keyhole. The bathroom door creaked open and a tall figure stood at the door, looking at her very seriously. The sound of the door opening made Yi Huanyan tremble in fear. The pregnancy test in her hand fell to the ground with a clatter and rolled to her feet. "You have to talk to me." "What happened?" "What the—" Yi Huanyan was the most annoyed by his expression. It was as if the sky was falling down. "I already said that I'm fine. Can't I just have constipation? Hurry up and get out of here." Ling Han was unmoved. He stared at her body and said faintly, "Madam, don't you take off your pants when you go to the bathroom?" Yi Huanyan was embarrassed and said embarrassedly, "Why do you care?" "Of course I care. I wash your pants." Yi Huanyan didn't have time to talk nonsense with Ling Han. She kept staring at her feet, trying to find the pregnancy test kit. "What are you looking for?" Don't bother me." Yi Huanyan was annoyed that Ling Han was blocking the light, so she pushed him angrily. However, she didn't expect him to grab her wrist. Just as she was about to struggle, her shoulder was pressed down. "Hey, you, woo!" Before she could say anything, someone sealed her lips. After a long struggle, she almost couldn't breathe and suffocated to death. A cool breeze blew past her ear, accompanied by his teasing voice. "Yi Huanyan, don't push your luck. It seems that you're lacking in discipline." Panting, Yi Huanyan was about to push him away when she caught a glimpse of the pregnancy test kit on the ground. The two clear lines were shocking to see. "Ling Han, you stinking hooligan." Chapter 603. When Gu Yao returned home, he heard his mother's angry roar coming from the bathroom, followed by the tragic scene of his father slamming the door together with him. As calm as he was, he first stood in place for 2 seconds to calm himself down, and also to make sure that the other door would not collapse. Then he walked over and calmly stretched out a hand. "Dad, are you okay?" Ling Han's face was deathly pale. He held onto his son's hand and struggled to stand up. In any case, he was already over 50 years old. How could he be fine? The moment he stood up, he let out a muffled groan and held onto his waist. "I'm fine." Gu Yao did not listen at all. He glanced at Ling Han's waist and casually pressed it, causing a scream. He took a deep breath, took out his phone, and quickly dialed a number. "Uncle, I may be late for Jingjing's concert tonight. If Jingjing asks, help me say a few words." Su Nianhua's voice came from the other end. "What's wrong? If you don't come, that girl will probably throw a tantrum." "It's okay. My dad sprained his waist. I'll take him to the hospital." When he said this, Ling Han glared at him, as if he was dissatisfied with him saying this directly. "Your dad sprained his waist?" On the other end of the phone, Su Nianhua coughed to hide the mischievous smile in his voice. "Well, tell your dad to be careful. After all, he's old, not like us middle-aged people. He still has to be careful." After hanging up the phone, Ling Han looked at his son and gritted his teeth. "Why did you tell him? Is he laughing at me?" "Su Nianhua, this guy, I think he's too bored." After Su Nianhua retired 2 years ago, he was idle at home. Zhang Ro complained that he did not know how to do anything and quarreled with him every day at home. Every few days, one of them would run away from home. Whenever something happened, he would call his daughter. Lu Jingru was annoyed. After a while, she had no choice but to ask Gu Yao for help. The two of them thought about it. At that time, Ling Han and Yi Huanyan had just returned from a trip, so they thought that the two families could spend more time together. Ling Han and Su Nianhua played chess, fishing, and worked out. Yi Huanyan and Zhang Ro could go shopping and do beauty treatments. It was good to pass the time and not annoy the younger generation. In the end, something went wrong. First, the two of them played chess for an entire afternoon. Neither of them was willing to give in to the other. In the end, there was always a winner. In the end, as long as one of them lost, they would be unhappy. If they were unhappy, they would flip the chessboard. After a few times, their faces were really red and they almost fought. Even the slightest bit of old history was dug up and slapped each other in the face. The two of them were 48 years old and 53 years old. Speaking of which, they were not young anymore. They were still angry and angry. The younger generation saw them as a joke. Since then, they had formed a grudge. Whenever they met in the future, they would definitely fall out. Gu Yao looked at Ling Han without changing his expression. "No, Uncle wants you to rest more. He'll come and see you another day." "Humph." Ling Han snorted coldly. "I'm fine. Who wants him to come and see me?" As he spoke, he even pushed Gu Yao away and walked to the sofa as if nothing had happened. Gu Yao looked in the direction of the washroom and shouted, "Mom, my dad twisted. Mom, my dad sprained his waist. Stop fooling around and come out to take a look." Yi Huanyan walked out of the washroom with a pregnancy test in her hand. Her face was gloomy. "He deserves it. What's going on now?" Gu Yao had a headache and looked at his wrist. "Aren't you afraid that the neighbors will laugh at you? I just came in and heard what you said. You called my dad a hooligan. Is that appropriate?" Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "It's inappropriate, but do you think it's appropriate that I'm pregnant?" Gu Yao's face stiffened. He coughed dryly and looked down at his wrist. "Ahem, what time is it now? Did you remember to pick up Nuanyuan? I'm going to pick up Nuanyuan first. Then, I'll pick up the doctor." When he looked up and met Yi Huanyan's murderous gaze, Gu Yao's heart skipped a beat. He immediately changed his words. Let me take a look at my dad's waist injury." As soon as Gu Yao stepped out of the house, Ling Han's voice sounded in the house. "Are you serious?" Yi Huanyan glared at him fiercely and threw the pregnancy test in front of him. "Take a look and see if it's true." Ling Han stared at it for a moment, and his expression became awkward. "I didn't do it on purpose. Are you not going to take responsibility?" "No, why wouldn't I want to take responsibility? Didn't you say you don't want to have children?" "When did I say I don't want to have children?" "Then sit down first. Let's have a child. Medical technology is advanced now. It shouldn't be a big deal. If it's not a big deal, then why don't you try and have one? Aren't you the one in pain? When I gave birth to Nuanyuan, I almost died. Then don't have children. Are you the biological father? So cruel." An hour later, Gu Yao returned home with his sister and the doctor. His disappointing parents were arguing with each other. Of course, because the one in the wrong was Ling Han, the one who was angry was Yi Huanyan. Ling Han was like a frosted eggplant that was at the mercy of others. He was almost crying from the scolding. Looking at the doctor's dumbfounded expression, Gu Yao held his forehead and coughed, interrupting the argument between the two. "Ahem." After the doctor checked Ling Han's waist injury, he took a sample and prepared to do a pregnancy test for Yi Huanyan. After all, this matter couldn't be 100% confirmed with a pregnancy test. The test results would only be out the next day. So that night, Ling Han slept in the study. Because Ling Han occupied the study, Gu Yao couldn't work. He had to go back to his room to rest. As for his mother's pregnancy, the father and son didn't talk about it. When he opened the door, he saw a little girl huddled on his bed under the dim light. She was hugging a big strawberry pillow and looking at him with a pair of big eyes. "Brother, you're finally back. Why didn't you sleep? Why did you come here? How old are you?" Ling Chunwan was 13 years old and had just entered junior high school. Her school wasn't far from home, so she basically took the bus to and from school. Today, he got off work early, and he wanted to avoid this sudden awkward situation at home, so he went to pick her up. He didn't expect this girl to be so happy on the way back. "Brother, am I going to have a little sister?" Gu Yao opened the wardrobe and looked at her. "Who told you that?" "Mommy said you're pregnant. The teacher in physiology class said that pregnant means you're going to have a baby. I'm going to have a little sister, right?" Gu Yao frowned. "Well, maybe not." "Why not?" "Because it might be a little brother." Ling Chunwan breathed a sigh of relief and turned over to lie on the strawberry pillow. She cupped her face and looked at the tall brother in front of the wardrobe. Her bell-like voice rang in the room. "Brother, do you want a little brother or a little sister?" "I don't want one." "Why?" Ling Chunwan didn't understand. She blinked and looked at her brother's back with a puzzled expression. "Because they'll be born like you. I'll be the one raising them." Chapter 604. The next morning, when Yi Huanyan woke up, her son had already gone to work. There was a conversation in the living room, and she could vaguely hear the voices of Ji Xiaoye and Gu Xinian. She opened the bedroom door with sleepy eyes, stuck half of her head out, and glanced at the living room downstairs. When she saw a room full of people sitting in the living room, she instantly woke up. Ji Xiaoye was sitting facing the bedroom door. When she saw Yi Huanyan, her eyes lit up and she exclaimed, "Ah, Yan Yan is awake." Hence, a dozen pairs of eyes turned to look at her. "What's the situation?" She twitched the corner of her mouth and cast a questioning look at Ling Han, who was surrounded by people. Ling Han looked at her helplessly and then looked at the people in the room. He really didn't know where to start. "It's like this." Ji Xiaoye quickly stood up and smiled. Her gaze swept over everyone, and then she spoke in the direction of the bedroom on the second floor from half the living room. "Xin Yan and I are here to ask you about our mother's birthday next month. Brother Hua and Xiao Rou are here to talk to you about the engagement time of Jingjing and Gu Yao. Sister Hong is here to send an invitation. She opened a new tea house and will open next week. She wants to invite you two to cut the ribbon. I haven't had time to ask why Sister Ying and Zhan are here." Fu Yingxiang continued. "Dongqing and Nuanyuan are in the same group for homework. Zhan and I happen to be free, so we sent him here and dropped by." "What about Xiao Wu?" Yi Huanyan twitched the corner of her mouth, and her gaze fell on Chen Yin, who was beside Su Hong. "What are you here for?" Chen Yin was now a movie queen who had won countless awards. She usually filmed countless blockbusters at the airport and could be called the queen of the generation. However, she usually didn't care about trifles. She wore sportswear and played games on her phone next to Su Hong. She was no different from a fat otaku. Hearing this, Chan Yin lazily looked up. "Stay here for 2 days." Xiao Wu quarreled with her husband, so she ran away from home. Su Hong helped to explain, and Chen Yin rolled her eyes. Good heavens, it was usually difficult for such a large group of people to gather together. What kind of situation was this today? All of them gathered together? Yi Huanyan went back to her room to change her clothes. After washing up, Ji Xiaoye opened up a space beside her and pulled her to sit down. Thus, she and Ling Han became the center of attention. Why was it so strange? Yi Huanyan felt goosebumps all over her body when she saw the way everyone was looking at her. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Su Hong was the first to smile. "Tell me honestly, how many months has it been?" Yi Huanyan's face paled. Fu Yingxiang quickly added, "She'll be the youngest in our family when she's born." Chen Yin looked up from the game. "That's right." That devil in my family keeps asking me to give birth to a younger sister for him. Now I have an answer. When you give birth, I'll tell him that you're his younger sister. It could also be a son, Ling Zhan interjected. Ji Xiaoye insisted that it was definitely a daughter. Other than Gu Xinian, who did not say anything, the people who came were already in a heated discussion. The smile on Yi Huanyan's face had completely frozen. This was not a coincidence at all. It was a well-planned and well-organized operation. They were all afraid that she would not want this child. Who did this? Who told you that I'm pregnant? Yi Huanyan raised her voice and looked unhappy. She glared at Ji Xiaoye fiercely, as if she had already determined who the culprit was. Ji Xiaoye hurriedly waved her hands. It wasn't me. I only saw that they were all here today. I was also very surprised. Who else could it be? Everyone was silent for a moment, then they started talking at once. Some were pointing at others, and the living room was like a nest of sparrows flipping the sky, chattering non-stop. Yi Huanyan was instantly furious. Come one by one. After saying that, she glanced at Su Hong. Sister Hong, you first. Su Hong coughed dryly. I sent an invitation to Xiao Wu's production team yesterday afternoon and chatted for a while. Yen, it's a good thing that you're pregnant. Look, I wanted it, but I didn't. After a long interrogation, they came to the conclusion that Su Hong heard it from Chen Yin, and Chen Yin heard it from Fu Yingxiang. What about you, fourth sister? Where did you hear it from? Yi Huanyan's gaze landed on Fu Yingxiang. Zhan told me last night. Zhan. Yi Huanyan looked at Ling Zhan. I heard it from brother Xin Yan. Who would have thought that the most silent source of gossip was actually her own brother? Gu Xinian coughed. Ji Xiaoye, on the other hand, looked a little surprised. I didn't tell you? How did you know? Gu Xinian pursed his lips and glanced in the direction of the swimming pool in the backyard. He rubbed his nose and slowly said, This? Nuanyuan called Chen last night. I picked up, and Nuanyuan said that she's going to have a younger sister. Yi Huanyan's expression changed and was in disbelief. Nuanyuan said that? The truth was that Ling Chunwan called Gu Yuechen, but Gu Yuechen was in the shower, so Gu Xinian picked up. She naively told Gu Xinian about the argument between her parents. After hanging up the phone, Ling Zhan happened to call Gu Xinian to ask about something, so he tried to verify it with Ling Zhan over the phone. Somehow, this matter became a fact, and now everyone in the circle knew that Yi Huanyan was pregnant. A large wave of congratulations was on the way. For the whole day, in addition to dealing with the congratulations of the sisters, Yi Huanyan was almost vomiting blood from the phone calls. Her subordinates, former business partners, and friends she made during her travels were all on the phone. God knows how small the world was. How did these people find out about this news? By the end of the phone call, Yi Huanyan was almost vomiting blood. She didn't want to think about other problems. In fact, she didn't intend to say no at first. It was just that the unexpected child was a blow to her. After all, the travel plan for the second half of the year was completely ruined this time. After the tour, the sisters left one after another. Yi Huanyan collapsed on the sofa and ordered Ling Han to make her juice, bring her tea, and massage her back. Ling Han sat on the sofa very obediently and massaged her legs, carefully asking if she could go back to the room to sleep at night. Yi Huanyan's eardrums hurt from the group of people, so she casually said yes. Ling Han was immediately as happy as if he was going to heaven. Before dinner in the evening, Gu Yao came back with the specially packed food from the restaurant. His mother was lying on the sofa in cartoon home clothes. She was as delicate as a rose. When she wanted to drink water, someone would bring her snacks, and someone would feed her. Next to her, his own father was diligently massaging her legs. He looked like a filial husband. The scene was very warm. This scene was not uncommon. Gu Yao glanced at it and went upstairs. Such warm days lasted for half a month. It alarmed the two elders of the Four Seasons Villa. They flew across the sea to Lan River. Yi directly said that she wanted to stay at Yi Huanyan's house to accompany her to take care of the baby. In less than 2 days, the Ling family was in chaos. Chapter 605. Wan Yi was very fond of children. It could be seen from Gu Yao, Ling Chunwan, and Gu Yuechen that she doted on her children unconditionally. She would give them whatever they wanted, and the more expectations she had for her children, the better. The more she had, the livelier it would be. And the one who caused the Ling family to be in chaos was also Wan Yi. Old Madam knew that her daughter was not young anymore, so she was especially careful about this pregnancy. Not only did she forbid Yi Huanyan and Ling Han to sleep in the same room, she even asked Ling Han to move out temporarily. This caused a serious conflict between mother and daughter. One day, after Wan Yi served Yi Huanyan the third bowl of soup, Yi Huanyan forced herself to drink 2 mouthfuls. The feeling of wanting to vomit became stronger and stronger. After retching for a while, she decided to fight back. "Mom, I want Ling Han to move back in." "Sure, after you give birth." Wan Yi had always been a woman of her word. She stared at the bowl of soup in front of her and signaled for Yi Huanyan to finish it. Yi Huanyan was angry. "I'm not drinking anymore. The child is mine. I can do whatever I want. I can't live like this anymore. I might as well not have this child." These words made Wan Yi very angry, and they started arguing on the spot. Yi Huanyan was so angry that she locked herself in the bathroom. Wan Yi pulled on the 13-year-old Ling Chunwan and complained tearfully. Although there were no tears, every word she said was full of dissatisfaction with Yi Huanyan for not appreciating her kindness. The tense atmosphere was interrupted by a scream from the bathroom. In the end, Wan Yi smashed open the door and saw Yi Huanyan lying on the bathroom floor. There was a pool of blood under her body. It was a shocking sight. Fortunately, the old lady was someone who had been through a lot. After panicking for a few seconds, she immediately called Gu Hang, who was in the study on the 2nd floor, to help carry her daughter to the bed. After settling her down, she called Ling Han and asked him to call a doctor. When Gu Yao returned from his business trip, he happened to see his father anxiously rushing into the house with the doctor. He hurriedly followed them in. As soon as he entered the house, he heard his grandmother crying from the 2nd floor. "Yen Yen, I'm sorry. I'm fine even if you hit me or scold me. Don't be sad." When they went up to the 2nd floor, they saw a room full of people surrounding the bed. Yi Huanyan was surrounded on the bed with a pale face. She was at a loss and refused to let the doctor brought by Ling Han examine her. "What happened?" Gu Yao asked. Gu Ling shook her head and pulled Gu Yao out of the bedroom with a sorrowful expression. "Your grandmother just quarreled with your mother. Your mother got too agitated and fainted in the bathroom. I don't know what happened. She might not be able to keep the child in her belly." Gu Yao's expression changed. "What? After the doctor leaves, you should talk to your mother. Don't make her sad. She already has a son and a daughter. This child might not be born this time." "No." Gu Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Grandpa, wait a minute." Gu Yao went back to his bedroom and asked the doctor to leave when he came back. In front of everyone's questions, he handed a piece of paper to Wan Yi, who was still holding Yi Huanyan's hand and crying by the bed. Then he gestured for everyone to leave, leaving the mother and daughter alone. Ling Han was locked outside the door and asked his son, "What did you show your grandmother?" "The pregnancy test results." Gu Yao took a deep breath. "My mother isn't pregnant." In fact, he had received the results before he went on the business trip, but he forgot to mention it later. It had been delayed until now. Who knew that his mother, who was already 47 years old, couldn't even tell such a small thing? Was this a joke? The biggest mistake of the century. Wan Yi read the pregnancy test results several times in disbelief. When she looked at Yi Huanyan again, she realized that her head had shrunk under the blanket and refused to come out. This was a sign of guilt. Then the blood. "I'm on my period." A muffled voice came from under the blanket. "You can't blame me. The pregnancy test showed that I'm pregnant." Yi Huanyan also didn't know that she wasn't pregnant. She had been fooled by her crazy sisters, and with the help of the pregnancy test, she thought that her pregnancy was a sure thing. In the end, she found out that her period had come when she went to the bathroom today. Then why did you faint? My stomach hurts. And she was scared. When she found out that her period had come, Yi Huanyan's first reaction was fear. Old Madam was in a bad mood now. If she found out that her pregnancy was fake, she would have done her best to serve her for so many days. She might even turn the house upside down. There was no movement outside the blanket for a long time. Yi Huanyan peeked out from under the blanket and carefully looked at Wen Yi. After a glance, she hurriedly shrunk back. Wen Yi was so angry that she didn't know what to say. She pointed at the lump of yu in the blanket for a long time without saying a word. That afternoon, she flew back to America. When Ling Han opened the door and came in, Yi Huanyan was hugging the blanket and looking out of the window in a daze. After her shoulder was hugged by someone through the thick blanket, she was slightly stunned. She snuggled into the embrace behind her and snuggled into a familiar chest. Are you a little disappointed that I'm not pregnant? If I said that I'm not pregnant, would you believe me? I don't know. Yi Huanyan was telling the truth. She really didn't know what Ling Han thought about her having a child. That's not important. Ling Han's voice came from above her head. His warm breath hit her forehead, and it was very warm. What I'm more curious about is, why are you in a bad mood recently? How am I in a bad mood? You're not. Ling Han asked in return. Yi Huanyan's body tensed up. She was a little breathless from his hug and hurriedly begged for mercy. Okay, I admit that I'm a little bit depressed. Why? I think I'm going through menopause. So what? Menopause, Yi Huanyan emphasized. It said that women age very quickly after menopause. When the time comes, there will be white hair and age spots. No skincare products can save them. According to what you said, I should be older than you, right? Yen, don't forget, I'm much older than you. Men are different. Men are more valuable as they age. Even if you're 80 years old now, there are still young girls throwing themselves at you. Don't tell me you don't like young girls. But I only like a young girl named Yi Huanyan. His deep voice came from her neck. It was a little seductive as he bit her ear. When I first saw her when I was 17 years old, there was no room for other young girls in my eyes and heart. Yi Huanyan was mesmerized by his bite, and his rare words of love made her heart tremble uncontrollably. After being married for so many years, she had a successful career, children, and parents. She didn't seem to have anything to worry about. However, a midlife crisis was inevitable. She began to doubt whether love still existed, and whether she was still the person he loved. But when you love a person, no matter if her age is gone, no matter if her appearance is old, no matter if her character changes with the passing of time, she will always be the most beautiful person in your heart when she first moved you. So thank you, I met you in your best years. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.